This boy is an orphan with an incredible ability. He can regenerate any part of his body within minutes. He shocks the surgeons by showing up again and again to sell another kidney and any other organ they need. Thanks to this, he manages to earn enough money to afford the awakening ceremony at the academy. It's the fastest way for him to gain new powerful skills and abilities on top of his already immortal body. The ceremony begins under the watchful eye of the principal. The first student, Gao Dehai, steps up and awakens as an A-rank poultry breeder. While the principal tries to be encouraging, the crowd sees it for what it is, a life skill job that means a future of farming. Next is the school's star pupil, Zhuge Ni. When she touches the testing orb, a massive phoenix of fire erupts, revealing her as an SSS rank fire mage. The principal is ecstatic, knowing this will bring glory to the academy, while the other students feel like she is now completely out of their league. Then, it is finally Yelin's turn. As he walks past the goddess Zhuge Ni, he is determined not to be a background character. The moment he touches the orb, the sky turns dark, and a giant blue dragon spirit circles the area amidst flashes of lightning. The principal and the students are stunned by the sheer power of the anomaly. It is soon revealed that our boy has awakened as an SSS-level forbidden mage. Initially, the principal is overjoyed, but his expression quickly shifts to horror and pity. As forbidden mages must consume their own life force to cast spells, they are notoriously short-lived, rarely making it past the age of 25. The crowd immediately turns on Yelin, laughing at his trash luck and mocking him for taking out a loan for a job that will kill him. Zhuge Ni looks at him with cold pity, believing his life is effectively over. The principal tries to comfort our protagonist, suggesting it is better to burn brightly for a short time than to live a mediocre life. Yelin puts on a brave face, thanking the principal and promising to bring glory to the school despite his short lifespan. This earns him a spot in a special training plan alongside Zhuge Ni. However, as he walks away, a confident smile plays on his lips. While everyone else sees a doomed young man, our hero knows the truth. The curse of the forbidden mage relies on a limited lifespan, but that means nothing to a man with an immortal, regenerating body. As the sun sets over Qingcheng Academy, students begin to filter out of the main building after an exhausting day. Yelin is among them, feeling the weight of recent events and wanting nothing more than to head home for some rest. However, his departure is interrupted when Zhuge Ni calls out to him. The SSS rank mage approaches with a serious proposal, suggesting that he join her team. She explains that since a forbidden mage's lifespan shortens every time they use their powers, teaming up is a matter of survival rather than malice. Our hero is not interested in the offer and simply waves her off as he continues walking. This rejection leaves Zhuge Ni frustrated, as she views his independence as stubborn idiocy. The walk home becomes even more difficult when a group of male students led by a blonde boy named Ling Yu blocks Yelin's path. They mock his prestigious job rank and suggest that his interaction with Zhuge Ni has made him a target for the powerful Ji family. The taunts turn personal and cruel as they belittle his living conditions and mock his status as an orphan, even making jokes about his deceased family. Initially, Yelin tries to brush them off, but the insults regarding his parents trigger a dark memory of a burning building. As they pushed him too far, the atmosphere shifts violently. A terrifying spectral eye appears behind Yelin, signaling the activation of his forbidden powers. Despite the students' sudden terror and their realization that he is actually willing to sacrifice his life force to attack them, Yelin does not back down. He slams his hand down, calling forth a massive bolt of energy that craters the ground and sends his bullies flying. As the terrified students scramble away and scream that he has gone mad, the alley falls silent. Once they are gone, the adrenaline fades, and Yelin winces in pain, feeling his internal organs begin to suffer the cost of the spell. Far above on a balcony, Zhuge Ni watches the city and remains unimpressed, believing that someone who risks his life over minor insults is destined for a short, unremarkable end. Meanwhile, our boy finally makes it back to his rundown apartment. He spends the night researching the specific costs of his new class, discovering a grim hierarchy of sacrifice where different organs power different levels of thunder magic. While the ultimate chaos divine thunder would normally be a death sentence, he knows his regeneration is the key. Eventually, the exhaustion of his body repairing itself catches up to him, and he collapses into sleep. Across the city in a high-end office, Ling Yu demands that his father take revenge. His father, a calculating man, advises against a direct assassination for killing a forbidden mage is risky and offers no profit. Instead, he suggests that since Yelin is poor and emotional, they should use the Ji family's wealth to exploit his weaknesses rather than fighting him. The following morning at the Academy Stadium, a crowd gathers for the official trial exam. Yelin arrives feeling groggy, only to be approached by a surprisingly friendly Ling Yu. The bully offers him breakfast and claims that yesterday's defeat was a wake-up call that inspired him to change. Our hero is naturally suspicious of poison, but Ling Yu insists he is sincere. In a dramatic turn, Ling Yu drops to one knee and asks to become Yelin's apprentice or follower. Sensing an opportunity, the young mage agrees on the condition of a tuition fee. He casually asks for 2 million yuan, and to his surprise, Ling Yu agrees to have his father transfer the massive sum immediately. As the ceremony reaches its peak, the school principal boasts loudly to other masters about having 2 SSS-rank students, much to their annoyance. The masters eventually leave to avoid his bragging just as the announcement rings out for the exam to begin. Before entering the dungeon, Zhuge Ni offers Yelin one last chance to team up, but he refuses again and dives into the blue portal alone. He is teleported into a dense forest where he is immediately ambushed by a leopard cat monster. Seizing the chance to test his power, he summons a thin bolt of lightning that instantly vaporizes the creature. However, when the system notification reveals he only gained 10 experience points, his excitement vanishes. Realizing that the cost of his health for such a small reward is inefficient, he decides he needs a much more ambitious plan to level up quickly. Deep in the forest, Yelin faces a terrifying sight as a massive swarm of monsters, including giant snakes and shadowy beasts, roars and charges directly at him. Instead of being afraid, he looks up with a manic grin and welcomes the challenge. He realizes that a wave of this size is the perfect opportunity to gain a massive amount of experience quickly. For this reason, he stops his retreat and prepares to test out his newly mastered abilities. As the dark cloud of monsters looms over him, a gargantuan blue ethereal skull erupts from his body, signaling the activation of a forbidden spell called Burning Reincarnation. This spell provides a massive boost by doubling his power, agility, and spirit, though it comes at a terrifying cost. Yelin knows that in this state, even a high-level monster would struggle to survive his thunder magic. He moves through the battlefield at high speeds, leaving a trail of energy as he tears through dozens of creatures. However, the physical toll of the spell is almost immediate. As he is sacrificing his life force, his hand begins to char and decay right before his eyes. Our protagonist realizes that it only takes 5 minutes for his body to start rotting, so he decides he must limit the spell's duration to 1 minute. This is a strategic move to ensure he doesn't accidentally reveal his secret immortal regeneration to anyone watching. Despite the pain, he pushes forward and activates another ability called Immortal Reverse Life to keep his body functioning. He crouches atop a magic circle and begins gathering energy for a massive attack known as World Ender Extreme Thunder. As the vortex of lightning strikes, the system confirms the total slaughter of wolves, snakes, and scorpions. Due to this massive influx of experience, Yelin successfully levels up to level 3 and even unlocks a new fire-based forbidden spell called Infernal Fire-Burnt Sky. Later that night, Zhuge Ni happens upon the clearing and is stopped in her tracks by the sight of hundreds of charred monster corpses. She is shocked to see that the fire used to kill them is actually infernal fire. Since she is supposed to be the only high-level fire mage in the area, she assumes there must be a hidden master nearby with talent that surpasses even her own. She becomes determined to find this mysterious person, unaware that the master is actually the classmate she looks down on. Meanwhile, Yelin is relaxing by a campfire and enjoying a meal of roasted magic pig meat. He knows he used a lot of energy during the fight, so he needs to eat well to recover. Once he is satisfied and ready to find more monsters to grind, he is suddenly interrupted when Zhuge Ni appears from the trees. Our hero finds this encounter troublesome since he wants to keep his true strength a secret. He tries to act natural by gesturing to his food, but Zhuge Ni immediately begins lecturing him. She believes his forbidden job makes him too weak to hunt alone, and tells him it's too late for regrets. In a display of extreme arrogance, she assumes he is trying to follow her and tells him she is too busy to team up. Yelin can only stare at her with a deadpan expression, wondering if she is actually delusional. Before she leaves, she asks him if he saw the powerful fire mage who was using infernal fire. To get rid of her, our guy points in a random direction and claims he saw a handsome man heading that way. This trick works perfectly, and Zhuge Ni storms off into the woods, blaming Yelin for making her lose track of the mysterious expert. Unfortunately for her, she quickly runs into a B-level dragon blood beast that leaps from the shadows. Zhuge Ni realizes she is completely outmatched by such a high-level monster and feels a moment of despair. She wonders where Yelin went, assuming he must have run away like a coward. She tries to defend herself with small fireballs, but the beast easily overpowers her and throws her into the air. Just as the creature is about to deliver a killing blow, a massive wall of flame erupts to protect her. The resulting explosion charcoals the beast instantly and leaves Zhuge Ni lying on the ground, scorched. As she lies there, she feels embarrassed that her arrogance led her into a trap she couldn't escape. However, her eyes go wide with awe when she sees a figure standing on the beast's corpse, wreathed in the very same infernal fire she was looking for. Yahello has disguised himself with a hood and mask to save her without revealing his identity. When she desperately asks for the name of her savior, he looks down at her calmly. To keep his cover, he tells her his name is Ling Ye, a play on words using the morning and the night. Zhujni watches her savior with a flustered and impressed expression, immediately asking which school he attends so that she might properly thank him for his help. Yahello keeps his back to her and remains indifferent to her gratitude since he views her as a nuisance. He tells her there is no need for thanks as he was simply passing through, and despite her pleas for him to wait, he begins to walk away into the shadows of the forest. As her clothing was shredded during her previous battle, it eventually falls away entirely, leaving her clutching herself in shock. Our hero looks back just long enough to warn her not to follow him into the dangerous areas ahead and suggests she prioritize changing her clothes. This leaves Zhugani blushing furiously on the ground, but her embarrassment quickly shifts into intense determination as she vows to one day stand by his side. Once he is deep within the trees and certain the girl has stopped following him, Yahello pauses to catch his breath. He is frustrated by the time he lost helping her and feels an urgent need to level up faster. Just then, a notification reveals he has unlocked a new ability called Undying, which allows him to sacrifice 2 years of his lifespan to become immune to a single lethal attack. While the young mage recognizes that the forbidden spellcaster is a dangerously short-lived profession, he views this specific skill as a godsend. Since he can survive even a strike to his heart or head, he realizes he can now activate the most devastating forbidden spells without the fear of permanent death. This newfound invulnerability gives him the confidence to farm for experience without any constraints. The narrative shifts to the third and final day of the trial exam, where a crowd has gathered at the stadium to see the results. Parents discuss their hopes for their children reaching level 8, while the school seniors engage in friendly posturing. One master points out that despite having powerful classes, a student's level is often a better measure of success, noting that the city's current record for this secret realm is level 11. The conversation is interrupted by the arrival of Zhu Qianxing, a top-tier astrologer who is there to check on his daughter. The principals treat him with great respect, praising Zhu Gani as the pride of the academy. Suddenly, the group notices someone exiting the portal earlier than expected. Zhugni steps out and greets her father and the principal, who are surprised to see her before the timer has expired. When asked about her progress, she reveals that she has reached level 12, officially breaking the long-standing record. The masters are stunned by this achievement, but her father suggests she could have reached level 13 if she had stayed until the end. Our hero's classmate reveals that she found the lower-level monsters boring and secretly admits she came out early specifically to find the mysterious Ling Ye before he can escape. Meanwhile, in a desolate zone of the dungeon, Yahello suddenly sneezes and wonders if someone is talking about him. He notices that all the monsters in the level 10 zone have already been cleared out by his own hand, forcing him to broaden his search range. To move faster, he activates a forbidden spell called Sudden Dance by sacrificing his kidney, which grants him 10 times his normal agility. He streaks through the forest with a speed that would make a high-level assassin jealous. Upon spotting a group of 3-headed cyclone mantises, he decides they are his next targets. He leaps into the air and sacrifices his bladder to trigger the world-destroying Raging Thunder, intending to vaporize them instantly. Back at the stadium, the final minutes of the test are ticking away as exhausted students filter through the portal. Zhugni stands near the entrance with growing frustration, wondering why her savior hasn't appeared yet. As the announcer counts down the final 3 minutes, she spots a silhouette emerging and feels a surge of hope. However, her expression turns to disappointment and annoyance when the figure is revealed to be Yahello. She immediately dismisses him as a coward and tells him to leave her alone, assuming he was simply hiding. The guy is annoyed by her attitude but is interrupted by the principal, who asks him what level he achieved. With a confident look, our protagonist reveals his status, showing that he has reached level 16. The crowd falls into a state of total shock, as it is seemingly impossible for anyone to reach such a high level in a rookie secret realm where the record was only 11. The crowd and the masters calculate the sheer scale of Yahello's achievement. Since reaching level 16 requires 12,000 experience points, and the highest level beasts in the realm only provide 100 points each, they realize the guy must have slaughtered over 1,000 level 10 monsters. The principal of Qingcheng is overwhelmed with pride and laughs while slapping our protagonist on the shoulder, declaring him the Academy's greatest honor. Even the prestigious Zhuge Qianxing watches the scene with an impressed smile. However, the mood shifts quickly as Zhugani scowls and points out that being a forbidden spellcaster makes leveling up easy if the user ignores the cost to their life. This causes the surrounding students to turn their awe into judgment. They begin mocking our hero, assuming he is a fool who traded his future for a few days of fame. One master even accuses the principal of manipulating the boy into sacrificing his lifespan for the school's reputation. Yahello remains perfectly calm amidst this chaos and shuts down the argument by claiming he did it of his own volition. He explains that as a poor orphan who was always looked down on, he would rather die at his brightest moment than live in mediocrity. His bold words impress Zhuge Chenxing, who steps forward to offer his business card and personal support. Zhuge Ni is clearly annoyed by this and shouts that the mysterious Ling Ye is the true genius who will soon surpass Ye Lin. The principal and masters are baffled since they have never heard of a student by that name. While the girl continues to insist that Ling Ye's arrival will change everything, our protagonist secretly mocks her obsession and politely asks to head home to rest. The principal agrees, reminding him that the formal test is only 3 days away. As the testing portal finally closes, the announcer declares the end of the session, causing Zhuge Ni to panic. She realizes her savior hasn't appeared and immediately blames Ye Lin for distracting her. When her father questions her about the situation, he begins to suspect that Ye Lin and Ling Ye might be the same person. Zhuge Ni dismisses this idea instantly, arguing that Ye Lin is a coward who ran from a dragon beast while Ling Ye is a master of fire magic. Back at his rundown apartment, our boy suddenly sneezes and assumes the delusional girl is bad-mouthing him. His peace is interrupted by a knock at the door from a man named Manager Wang. This visitor claims to be from a health drink company and offers the boy a massive 3 million yuan endorsement deal due to his record-breaking performance. Manager Wang presents a bottle of oral liquid that supposedly promotes cell regeneration and longevity. Seeing the money as a way to avoid selling more organs, Ye Lin ignores his suspicions and drinks the liquid. Unfortunately, it turns out to be a trap. The drink is drugged, and he collapses as the manager calls his boss to report that the target has been captured. Ye Lin is taken to a dark building in a city alleyway where the boss is revealed to be the same man from the black market shop. The man laughs greedily as he inspects the boy, realizing that all the organs he previously bought from the boy have completely regrown. He believes he has found the secret to immortality and wealth. However, the celebration is cut short when Ye Lin suddenly sits up, completely unaffected by the drug. The boss is stunned that a level 16 student can resist a sedative meant for elephants. The black market boss, a level 20 phantom swordsman named Ji Yu Liang, draws a machete to force our boy into submission. To avoid burning the building down with fire magic, Ye Lin decides to use a cold-based forbidden spell called the Eye of Eternal Frost. By sacrificing his own eye, he releases a wave of energy that instantly freezes the boss in place. The man's blade shatters against the ice, and he realizes in terror that the level difference doesn't matter against a forbidden mage's power. Our hero begins a cold interrogation to ensure no one else knows about his regeneration ability. Once the boss confirms he kept the secret to himself for his own profit, Ye Lin decides to give him a quick end with a massive energy-infused punch. Outside the building, the remaining guards are wiped out by giant ice spikes erupting from the floor. As he walks through the carnage, our boy feels disgusted by the drug he drank and decides to sacrifice his stomach to purge it. He corners one final survivor, who tearfully confesses that their ultimate leader is Ken Sen, the underground king of the city. This news bothers Ye Lin since Ken Sen is publicly known as one of the city's top philanthropists, making the situation much more dangerous than he expected. He walks away into the night, realizing a much larger threat is looming over him. Inside the dark and cavernous Qingcheng black market, Ken Sen is listening to a report from his subordinate. The boss is stunned upon learning that Ji Hu went missing after pursuing a poor student. The subordinate explains that all contact was lost half an hour ago, and the farm was found burned down, indicating the involvement of a fire awakener. Enraged by this news, Ken Sen stands up with an aura so powerful that the ground beneath him shatters. He orders his subordinate to investigate and find the missing man at all costs. The scene transitions to a clear sky over a grand mansion. Ling Yu stands on the steps to greet Ye Lin as he arrives in a luxury car. Ling Yu explains that he sent people to fetch him immediately upon hearing of his arrival, prompting our hero to observe the massive size of the estate. Ling Yu nervously brings up the 2 million yuan that was requested, but Ye Lin dismisses the talk of money. He explains that since Ling Yu calls him boss, money is irrelevant. Relieved, Ling Yu puts an arm around his shoulder and leads him through the grand arched entrance, telling his boss to treat the place as his own home. While Ling Yu thinks that the guy is simple-minded, Ye Lin believes that hiding inside the Ji family estate will prevent Ken Sen from sending anyone to catch him. They enter the mansion, revealing a massive spiral staircase and a long line of maids waiting to greet the new guest. Overwhelmed by the opulent surroundings, our protagonist looks at the staff and reflects on how different the lives of the wealthy truly are. Ling Yu gestures to the maids and offers to send them to the room for the night. Ye Lin pretends not to hold back, but when the maids surround him to help change his clothes, he feels flustered and declines the assistance as a joke. Ling Yu laughs, telling him not to be courteous and stating that they have a big event to attend. Ye Lin curiously asks about this event, and Ling Yu promises he will understand once they arrive. They arrive at a massive, crowded theater-style hall which Ling Yu identifies as the annual Qingcheng auction. He offers to introduce our hero to the elite crowd of famous people, but Ye Lin waves him off so he can get something to eat. He explains that he was busy all night and had to sacrifice his stomach, so he needs to eat to compensate. Watching him head to the buffet, Ling Yu scoffs, believing that the poor will always be poor and unsophisticated. Yelin sits at a table piled with luxury food and wine, eating aggressively to recover from his ordeal. A shadow soon falls over the table, and he looks up to find Zhu Gani and her friend Liu Yanwei standing there looking annoyed. Liu Yanwei asks if the young mage is the genius fire user from the secret realm. Zhu Gani turns her back with a huff, calling him a coward who ran away and left her in danger, and declares it unlucky to meet him before walking away. Yelin watches her go, amused by her attitude and wondering what her reaction would be if she knew the truth about his secret identity. Ling Yu then walks up to a group of well-dressed students and introduces Yelin as his boss. The students are skeptical, finding it ridiculous that Ling Yu would bow to an ordinary person. Angered by their disbelief, Ling Yu asks if they know the rank of his boss, which causes the students to gasp in shock upon realizing that the young mage is at level 16. The students gather around with newfound respect, recognizing him as the #1 student from the rookie secret realm and expressing amazement at his high level compared to their own initial attempts. Yelin calms them down, stating that he has considerable experience with leveling up and wishes he could bring them along outside the city to boost their final exam scores. The students get excited at the prospect, but Ling Yu points out that leaving the city before the final exam is against the rules. Our protagonist then mentions that even though his level is high, he lacks the proper equipment. Ling Yu immediately connects the dots, realizing that his boss wants to help them level up if they manage to get outside. Eager for the advantage, Ling Yu promises to buy anything the young mage wants from the auction, as long as he gets to tag along. He assures Yelin that money is not an issue since his father will support his education. A spotlight hits the stage where the auctioneer, Ching, welcomes the audience and introduces the first item. It is an epic tier skill scroll for the fire element, suitable for mages. Bidding begins, and the price quickly jumps from 50,000 to hundreds of thousands as multiple people raise their hands. Chuga Chenxing suddenly stands up and bids 3 million, stunning the entire crowd. Watching the display while eating from his tray, Yelin reflects on the vast difference in wealth and notes that he does not need any skill scrolls because every ability he uses is a forbidden spell. The young mage reminds his follower, who is a level 1 shadow swordsman, to look out for useful skills that might help during difficult moments. On the stage, the auctioneer, Ching, introduces the next item, which is a rare equipment piece known as the Royal Dragon Rui Ring. She explains that the ring boosts the user's psychic attribute by 30 points and provides a passive dragon aura effect. The bidding starts at 2 million with minimum increments of 10,000. The crowd immediately raises their hands, driving the price up past 3 million. Yelin watches the bidding process with a fork in his mouth and points out the immense value of such equipment. Because the ring provides a significant boost, he instructs Ling Yu to acquire it. Ling Yu leans over and whispers to his father, Chairman Ji, who agrees to purchase the item. Chairman Ji bids 8 million, thinking it is a small price to ensure his son's entry into a top-tier academy. Furthermore, he believes that since forbidden spellcasters have short lifespans, our boy will pass away soon, allowing the family to reclaim the equipment. Before the auctioneer can finalize the sale, Ken Sen, the underground king of the city, moves forward and bids 10 million. Chairman Ji recognizes him with a narrowed gaze, while Ling Yu wonders about the reason for his presence. Ken Sen confronts the chairman about a previous incident involving his people. Ye Lin, who recognizes Ken Sen from their previous encounter, turns around and tries to hide his face by adjusting his glasses, wanting to avoid any conflict with the dangerous figure. Chairman Ji claims ignorance and warns Ken Sen that the G Corporation is not an easy target. He raises the bid to 12 million. Ken Sen smiles maliciously and declares a game between them. He tells his subordinate to verify the vehicle involved in the recent storage room incident, which was traced back to the G family. Ken Sen then issues a dark threat, warning that he will destroy the entire G family. The hammer falls, and the auction concludes at 12 million. Chairman Ji hands the box containing the ring to Ye Lin, who expresses his gratitude and Ling Yu about the identity of the man who just left. Chairman Ji explains that Ken Sen is an underground king trying to legitimize his business and warns that the man is now targeting the G Corporation. Realizing the danger, the young mage advises the chairman to remain careful, noting that a large corporation naturally attracts unwanted attention. Chairman Ji appreciates the advice and agrees with the sentiment. After slipping the ring onto his finger, Ye Lin notices a surprising detail. The item does not just enhance psychic attributes, it also provides 10 additional points of luck. Confident in his growing strength, he promises Chairman Ji that he will ensure Ling Yu secures a spot in a top-tier academy. The chairman laughs, treating the young mage like a close family member and telling him to ask for anything he needs. The scene moves to a lounge where a tired Ling Yu relaxes on a sofa. Grateful for the equipment, Ling Yu tells Yelin he can take whatever gear he wants. The young mage looks at several items presented before him, including a thunder ring, a psychic-enhancing necklace, and a pair of healing bangles known as the yin-yang twin bangle. Yilin selects these 3 pieces, believing that the healing bangles will provide a convenient excuse for his body's rapid regeneration. He then stands up and inspects a large blue battle sword called Starry Sky. This weapon grants a significant strength bonus that scales up with the starlight. He realizes this weapon will allow him to use the forbidden spell he unlocked upon reaching level 10. He holds the sword in a combat stance while a giant blue monster head appears behind him. The sword skill sacrifices a year of lifespan per slash, but delivers twice the power, stacking up to 99 times. Confident in this power, he tells Ling Yu that they will be unstoppable during the upcoming exam. In another part of the city, Zhuge Ni relaxes in a bubble bath, wondering why the Ji family would invest so much in a coward like Yelin. She suspects they have a hidden deal. Her butler interrupts to inform her that Liu Yanwei and Inspector Huang have arrived with information about the mysterious Ling Ye. Zhuge Ni tells them to wait in the living room and soon appears dressed in a black dress to meet them. Inspector Huang greets her and shows a photo of a burned farmhouse, explaining that traces of karma fire were found at the scene. He suspects a connection to the person Zhuge Ni is looking for and asks for cooperation with the investigation. Shocked, our hero's classmate denies that Ling Ye is a criminal, arguing that he saved her life. Inspector Huang mentions that another person was seen at the scene and suggests that Yelin could be that person. Zhuge Ni becomes completely annoyed and dismisses the idea, insisting that Yelin is a coward who fled from the dragon beast. To prove her point, she states he does not possess the ability to use karma fire. Inspector Huang's hidden eye activates with lie detection as he listens to her explanation. Convinced by her absolute certainty, the inspector decides that Yelin is not the culprit and prepares to leave, asking her to contact him if she discovers anything new. Later that night, Yelin and Ling Yu walk through the dark to a building. Our protagonist asks why they are there, and Ling Yu reveals they are at the Job Changer Association to test the new equipment. When the clerk asks if they want combat training and about their levels, Yelin states he is level 16. Due to his rank, the clerk decides to assign them a training room suited for job changers under level 20 for a fee. However, he declines the offer and requests a training room designed for level 40 instead. The clerk is surprised but complies with the unusual request, sending him to a dark arena filled with thousands of stone training dummies. Yelin stands in the center and draws his Starry Sky blade. Since the room is private and lacks cameras, he feels secure enough to test his new equipment. He lunges forward, activating the forbidden spell burning cycle to test the power of the sword skill. As a result, he moves too fast, carving through the sea of stone dummies and pulverizing them until the energy creates a massive wall. Looking around at the wreckage, our boy is pleased with the weapon and decides to experiment with his other abilities. Outside the door, Ling Yu and the clerk listen to the loud training noises. The follower mentions to the clerk that his boss tends to be intense during practice. The clerk assumes the rigorous training will help the young mage achieve good results. When the heavy doors open, Yelin walks out looking physically drained. When Ling Yu asks why he finished early, the young mage explains that he feels exhausted and needs to rest. He asks if he needs to pay for the broken equipment inside. The clerk laughs off the idea, reasoning that a level 16 awakener could not possibly damage a room meant for level 40. With this assumption in mind, our guy leaves, while the clerk opens the door and is left completely stunned by the total destruction inside. Night falls at the Ji family mansion where guards stand at the front gate. Suddenly, one of the guards' neck is slashed. While his partner is confused, the second guard gets dragged into the shadows and eliminated. Inside his office, Chairman Ji hears the disturbance. Uncle Fu, his butler, stumbles into the room bleeding heavily. Before he can finish warning the chairman, a blade pierces his chest from behind. Ken-sen steps over the fallen butler, grinning at the chairman with a dagger. Chairman Ji aims a handgun at Ken-sen, but the attacker moves with superhuman speed, dodging the weapon and slashing the chairman's hand. Ken-sen pins the chairman to the floor, grinding his face into the carpet and mocking him for relying on a gun against an awakener. A subordinate enters the room and reports that the targets are not there. As the young mage and Ling Yu have escaped, a furious Ken-sen decides to keep Chairman Ji alive as leverage and orders his men to take him. Yilin and Ling Yu soon arrive at the mansion. Noticing the lights are off, the young mage senses that something is wrong and smells blood. They sprint inside and find the foyer filled with the bodies of the guards and staff. Ling Yu falls into shock, but our hero tells him to stay alert. When Ling Yu calls out for his father, Yelin notices a handwritten note on a table. The note demands that Yelin be brought to the underground market to save Chairman Ji, threatening to cut a piece of flesh from the older man every hour. Ling Yu's face twists with fury, and he vows to kill the attacker. To protect his follower, our protagonist places a hand on the young man's shoulder, advising him to hide while he goes to save Uncle Ji. Seeing Ling Yu insist on coming along, Yelin knocks him unconscious with a strike to the neck. He lays Ling Yu on the bed and promises to bring his father back safely. As he steps outside, he pulls up his hoodie, vowing to show Ken-sen the terrifying resolve of a forbidden spellcaster who does not fear death. The scene shifts to the derelict industrial area of the Qingqing underground black market. Yelin approaches the area in his black face mask, hiding behind a wall to assess the guards. He hopes he is not too late. However, a guard catches sight of him. Our hero is surprised by how quickly he is detected. Suddenly, several armed men step from the shadows, pointing red laser sights at his chest and asking why he is wearing nightwear. Yelin realizes the black market has advanced technology like infrared and night vision cameras. The guard simply tells him that the boss has been waiting for him. Yelin approaches the guards with the intent of fighting his way through the area. Suddenly, an explosion of energy erupts as he activates the forbidden spell Burning Cycle. Because his right kidney recently regenerated, he decides to sacrifice his left kidney instead. The sudden physical toll makes him wince in pain. The lackeys realize something is wrong and order the guards to open fire. Yelin reacts quickly, leaping into the air and spinning to dodge the bullets with supernatural agility. A massive dome of energy explodes in the alleyway as he moves with high speed. Using the ephemeral dance, he strikes through the guards while declaring that no one will leave to protect his secret, and calls out for Kensen. Suddenly, a sharp gust of wind energy slashes at Yelin, pushing him back and skidding his feet on the ground. Recognizing the attack as a wind element spell, the young mage crouches with a serious expression. He determines the attacker is above level 30. Two powerful combatants stand before a doorway. The woman asks why he came here alone, but the man reminds her that their boss wants the young mage alive, causing her to back down from killing him. Yelin grips his sword and declares that he will use them to sharpen his blade with the forbidden spell Lifespan sword skill. The man lunges forward with his wind-powered spear, and our protagonist counters, calling out the first slash. As they clash in a flurry, the black-haired woman joins the fray and swings her sword. Yelin dodges her strike and delivers the second slash. While the woman smiles mockingly, the man boasts that the attack feels like nothing. Yelin tells them to wait for the best part. He swings his sword with increasing intensity, unleashing massive arcs of energy. He calls out the third and fourth slashes, followed by a rapid montage of strikes from the fifth to the eighth slash. The man looks on in terror as his partner falls, while our protagonist stands with his hand on his chest, feeling the physical damage of the slashes worsen. Yelin stands over the man slumped against the wall and states that he will not live long enough to understand the sword skill, delivering a final slash to his chest. The woman bleeds on the ground, terrified by his display, and calling him a demon before she is consumed by dark energy. Our hero points his magic finger at her, silencing her. Leaving the defeated combatants behind, Yelin walks away through the corridor of bodies, declaring that no one is making it out alive. Three guards panic and run from an explosion, complaining that the boy refuses to die. Our protagonist walks up the concrete stairs, continuing to slash through enemies while counting his slashes. Feeling weary, the young mage stops on the stairs and notices a new presence. He warns the target not to run and realizes he lost count, so he restarts his counting. At the top of the stairs, a hulking man stands holding a big black axe. This man is Di Shu-Chi, a level 42 combatant and the black market's #1 hitman. He grins maliciously, noting that Yelin is still standing despite his injuries. Yelin glares at the hitman, noticing the weight of the massive axe, and tells him to put it down if he wants an explanation. Di Shu-Chi raises the axe over his head, declaring that he will kill the young mage and study his corpse, which triggers Yelin to activate the spell Burning Cycle once again. They clash weapons, creating a massive shockwave and activating the ephemeral dance. Di Shu-Chi laughs, realizing his opponent is a forbidden spellcaster and wondering how long the young mage can last while burning his own life force. Yelin stands battered and bleeding from the mouth, clutching his side. Given that the opponent is a level 42 awakener, he realizes the sheer power of his foe. Di Shu-Chi laughs, mocking the young mage for using a sword as a forbidden spellcaster and pointing out that his sword skill still lacks proficiency. Despite the taunts, our hero remains calm and calculates an opening to dodge. Unfortunately, a strike lands directly across his chest, sending a spray of blood into the air and propelling the swordmaster backward into a stone wall. Yelin groans in pain as the hitman walks forward, claiming to just be warming up. Slumped against the wall, our protagonist catches his breath and realizes the flaw in using this sword skill at close range against an expert. Luckily, his immortal body reacts. Golden energy rises from the wounds as they physically seal themselves shut. Now unfazed, the young mage stands back up with complete determination. He declares that the hitman has forced his hand, initiating a massive sacrifice of his internal organs, including his liver, kidney, and several others. By making this massive offering, the sky above the city shifts dark. A colossal blue dragon spirit made of lightning descends from the clouds, coiling around the skyscrapers. A massive lightning strikes the battle area as the dragon surges through the streets. Caught in the center of the electrical blast, Di Shu-Chi disintegrates and is completely erased, letting out a final, impossible scream of shock. Standing in the center of the smoking crater, Yelin mocks his own sword skill, but praises his thunder magic. Looking down at the scorched earth, he tells the deceased enemy to relay the message to the Lord of Hell when he meets him. However, the sheer physical toll of sacrificing so many organs causes our boy to wince in pain, leaving him dizzy and struggling to stay upright as he holds his arm. Meanwhile, Ken-sen relaxes in a bedroom with a woman. When she asks if the brat's arrival poses a problem, the underground boss dismisses the concern, assuming Di Shu-chi has the situation handled. He then offers her a treat, at which she giggles and playfully calls him naughty. Suddenly, the wall and door to the room explode inward, sending debris flying. Yelin steps through, demanding to know the location of Uncle G. Ken-sen stands up in shock, demanding to know what happened to his hitman. Our protagonist lunges forward with his blade, stating that all the guards are dead and that Ken-sen is next. The boss easily dodges the attack and mocks his capability, moving with blinding speed to grab Yelin by the throat. Using his crushing hand ability, Ken-sen crushes the young mage's neck and tells him to remember in his next life not to anger him. However, things backfire when the boss is stunned to see Yelin survive the hold. Our hero hunches over, explaining that he still has not had enough fun. Intending to disable his opponent, the young mage places a hand over his left eye to sacrifice it. This summons a massive blue ethereal eye behind him, casting a forbidden spell that instantly freezes Ken-sen from the waist down in blue ice. Immobilized, the boss panics, unable to move. The Swordmaster demands the location of Uncle G, warning that he will dismember Ken-sen if he refuses to talk. The boss screams in agony as energy chars and breaks his arms. At that moment, the woman from the bedroom rushes in with a handgun. She points the weapon at Chairman G, who is tied up and bruised in the corner, and threatens to kill him if the young mage does not release Ken-sen. Seeing her hesitation, Yelin notes that she is not heartless and asks if she intends to exchange hostages. Ken-sen, bleeding from the mouth, shouts at the woman to leave, insisting he does not need to be saved by a woman. Panicking, the woman screams and opens fire, hitting our boy's chest with multiple bullets. The attack has no effect, causing her to scream in terror for Ken-sen. The boss warns her to run, stating that the young mage cannot be killed, and Yelin's bullet wounds heal instantly without leaving a mark. Ken-sen begs the boy to kill him instead and take all the blame, insisting that the woman knows nothing. Annoyed by the chatter, Yelin declares the man to be too noisy and swings his sword, striking the boss with a single killing blow. After defeating Ken-sen, Yelin confronts the weeping woman mourning her boss. Declaring that he never kills women, he leaves her behind unharmed and walks away carrying the unconscious Chairman G while she watches in silence. At the G family mansion, Ling Yu reunites with his recovering father. When Chairman G asks how he survived, Yelin tells him that a mysterious master named Ling Ye rescued him and destroyed the black market. Chairman G questions the origin of this powerful master, noting he has never heard of such a person. Yelin plays it off, claiming he knows very little, having only met the master recently. Recognizing that our boy prefers to keep his secrets, the chairman decides not to press for more details. He shifts the focus to the upcoming final exam, urging the students to prepare properly. Yelin agrees, but their conversation is suddenly interrupted as the bedroom door swings open. 3 men in black suits storm into the room, declaring that they are not going anywhere. Officer Huang identifies himself and informs Yelin that they suspect him of being connected to a recent murder case in the city. Consequently, the officer presents an arrest warrant and requires the young mage to assist with the investigation. Yelin remains perfectly calm during the confrontation. He realizes that resisting arrest would be too risky and decides to go along with them for now. Ling Yu angrily confronts the officers, but Yelin tells him not to worry and asks Chairman G to help bail him out. The chairman promises to hire the best lawyer and secure his release. The scene shifts to another part of the city. Zhuge Qianxing opens a door to tell his daughter that they finally have news about the mysterious Ling Ye. Surprised and eager, she asks if they found him, and her father confirms this, but tells her to change her clothes first, as Officer Huang is waiting downstairs. As the astrologer walks down his hallway, a cough escapes him. He falls into a thoughtful state, wondering when the young mage will finally start relying on him after taking down Ken-sen completely on his own. The location changes to the Qingcheng Investigation Bureau. Yelin sits in a dark interrogation room, refusing to speak until his lawyer arrives. The investigator grabs him by the collar and lifts him from the chair. He demands to know the location of the object they seek. Yelin asks what object he means, prompting the investigator to throw him against the wall and demand the key taken from Ken-sen, threatening his life. Yelin slumps on the floor in pain, completely confused about the key. He decides to play along, stating that he has the key, but it is not on his person, warning the man that killing him means the key will never be found. The investigator grabs him by the hair, excited by the admission, and demands it. Yelin counters by saying he will reveal the location only if allowed to leave the bureau. The investigator strikes him across the face, spraying blood, and calls the action crazy. Yelin asks to make a phone call, and the investigator remarks that he should have done so earlier to avoid the pain. While holding the phone, our hero thinks about the feud and resolves to make the man pay 10 times over. 10 minutes pass, Zhuge Qianxing enters the interrogation room. The investigator looks shocked and greets the prominent figure, Without any hesitation, Zhuge Qianxing presents the actual key, and the investigator takes it, releasing Yahello and stating that he has no further business there. Our protagonist looks up from the floor, wondering why Ken Sen's key is in Zhuge Qianxing's hands, and if he is caught in a larger conspiracy. He thanks the older man for saving him. Zhuge Qianxing explains that he had his own reasons. He points out that if the public discovers Yahello has an undying body, the world will hunt him down. Shocked, our hero wonders if he should eliminate the threat. He stands up and asks what the astrologer means by an undying body. Zhuge Qianxing notes the flash of killing intent in the eyes of the guy, confirming his suspicions about the regenerative abilities. The astrologer observes that having an undying body while appearing so weak matches the myth. When the young mage asks what he wants, Zhuge Qianxing offers to take him on as a disciple. Bewildered by the sudden offer, Yahello questions the decision. Zhuge Qianxing coughs and explains that he does not have much time left and wants to pass on a legacy to a capable successor. When Yahello notices the key in the astrologer's hand, he asks if he did not just give it to the investigator. Zhuge Qianxing clarifies that the other item was a fake, and this one is the real ancient apocalypse key. Zhuge Qianxing explains that when the gates of apocalypse opened, demonic beings were unleashed alongside 7 ancient origin artifacts that fell to Earth. These artifacts possess unimaginable power and are scattered across the world. The astrologer reveals that the ancient apocalypse key unlocks these gates. He asks if our hero is willing to become his disciple to complete the mission. Realizing his secret is exposed and he lacks a choice, Yahello agrees but expresses doubt about his own ability to accomplish the task. The astrologer laughs off the modesty, noting that Yahello's strength and future at the Supreme Academy are boundless. Following this, the man asks the young mage to look after Nini after he passes away. This unexpected request makes Yahello raise a hand to scratch his head in awkwardness, prompting him to wish his master a long life. Laughing, Zhuge Qianxing advises the young mage to take things slowly with his daughter and focus on the upcoming test instead. Agreeing with this, Yahello suggests they leave the interrogation room. The scene shifts to the interior of the Grand Zhuge mansion. Inside, Zhugani stands in her pajamas in absolute disbelief. She expresses shock that her father could possibly take in a coward like our hero. Lounging comfortably on a sofa with his arms crossed, Yahello simply tells her to go ask her father for the reasoning. Flushed with anger, the young woman sprints down the hallway while calling out for her father. Zhuge Qianxing appears at the stairs, calm in his demeanor. When he asks why his daughter is so angry, Zhugani points aggressively at the guy. She argues that teaching a forbidden spellcaster is a waste since he cannot live past the age of 25. Trying to calm her down, the astrologer asks her not to speak so harshly and reveals that our boy is actually the mysterious fire user she has been looking for. Staring at Yahello with venomous mockery, Zhugani rejects the claim as a joke. She accuses the youth of being both a coward and a liar who somehow tricked her father. She storms off after declaring she refuses to stay in a house with him and vowing to expose the fake mask by finding the real Ling Ye. Once she leaves, Yahello looks slightly concerned and asks if he should protect her. Zhuge Qianxing waves the concern away. He explains that no one in Qingqing dares to touch her and advises him not to worry about her arrogant nature, as she is good at heart. The master then hands him a small box containing a fleshy material called illusion skin. The older man explains that the item allows the user to disguise their voice and presence as another person. Finding this item to be highly useful for the test, our hero expresses his gratitude. The day of the final test arrives. The academy grounds are packed with students. Yahello walks through the crowd until Ling Yu runs over with a broad smile. The follower mentions that he was worried his boss might not show up. Yahello confirms he is there to keep his promise and mentions that the Ken-sen incident is finally settled. Nearby, Zhugani watches them with a scowl, thinking about how her father was tricked. Ling Yu turns to the young woman and hardens his expression. He states that he will not allow her to defame his boss without any proof. Zhugani looks away, thinking the youth is merely impersonating Ling Ye and vowing to expose him during the test. The principal stands before a fleet of buses and addresses the gathered examinees. He tells the students to work hard so that Qingqing Academy can succeed, prompting everyone to cheer and raise their fists. 30 minutes later, the buses arrive at the massive gray stone walls of the city. Students disembark and look at the towering gates in awe, as many of them are seeing it for the first time. Yahello and Ling Yu stand at the front of the line, looking out into the wilderness. The young mage tells his follower to stick close to him so they can execute their plan. An officer in red stands on the wall and explains the rules of the wilderness. He warns the candidates that they must travel through 10 kilometers of dangerous territory to reach the test zone, and the first to exit the gate will be the first to face aggressive monsters. He then asks if they are ready, and the students scream their confirmation. With a heavy mechanical grind, the gates slide open and the crowd charges out. Zhugani runs forward with a fierce look, determined not to lose to our protagonist. Atop the wall, the principal and his colleagues observe the departing students. They discuss the low number of candidates expected to enter Daxia Academy, but the principal laughs confidently and says Qingqing will send at least 2 students. Out in the wilderness, the candidates suddenly stop when they hear a low growl. A level 11 bloodthirsty demon lizard bursts from the ground, scattering the panicked students with its foul odor of dead meat. On the wall, the masters express disappointment and remark that such a minor threat is enough to scare the group. The principal laughs, noting that those frightened students are not from Qingcheng Academy. Yilin sprints through the fleeing crowd and clears the path. He draws his starry sky blade and delivers a fluid, circular slash that cuts the lizard in half. The watching teachers widen their eyes in shock at the quality of the rare weapon. They discuss why the guy did not use a forbidden spell, noting that the fight is easy for a level 16 awakener with top-tier equipment. The young mage stands over the monster and tells Ling Yu to step forward for the final hit. Ling Yu rushes up and pierces the monster, which triggers a notification confirming they killed the beast as a team and earned 40 experience points. Other students gather around and whisper in envy at the sight of the power-leveling strategy. Some ask Yelin if he needs subordinates. Ignoring the crowd, Yelin continues moving forward. Zhugenai watches his back from a distance with cold determination. Because being in a team splits the experience points, she resolves to surpass him in the test. Surrounded by defeated monsters, Yelin and Ling Yu receive system notifications confirming their experience gains. Ling Yu's rank increases, prompting the thrilled follower to pledge unwavering loyalty to the young mage. Yelin tells him not to celebrate too early as they head deeper into the forest to find more beasts. Unfazed by the presence of higher-level monsters, the young mage states that they will simply flee if necessary. Meanwhile, from the building overlooking the forest, the principal expresses concern over Yelin's rash actions, but his colleague reassures him that examiners are closely monitoring the situation. Two powerful monsters suddenly emerge from the undergrowth, consisting of a large goat-headed demon and a pig-headed beast with a skull pauldron. The demon lets out a loud grunt, causing Yelin to ready his sword and instruct his follower to remain alert so he does not lose his life. Ling Yu smiles confidently, replying that he treasures his own life and knows how to stay safe. Knowing that the lifespan sword skill takes a heavy toll, our hero gathers energy in his chest and refrains from using it for an extended duration. He releases an incantation, unleashing a massive burst of energy that obliterates the surrounding area through the forbidden spell, World-Ending Thunder. Ling Yu is left standing among the smoking craters, looking at the defeated beasts with complete shock. He remarks on the brutality of the attack and asks the boss if he always eliminates monsters in this manner. Yelin replies that this is only the beginning and the truly brutal part has yet to come. An examiner standing on a high rock looks down and warns the students that leaving the designated test area is extremely dangerous. Ling Yu realizes they have strayed into the restricted zone, and the young mage decides that they cannot go any deeper. Suddenly, Yelin peers into the shadows and tells his companion to watch his back. The examiner, annoyed by the warning, scoffs at the tactic and declares that he will not fall for the trick after 20 years of experience on the job. Because the examiner refuses to turn around, a gargantuan green-skinned goblin hero appears directly behind him, wielding a massive spiked club. Yelin shouts a warning, but the creature roars loudly as it prepares to attack. The examiner turns around and freezes in sheer terror upon seeing the level 33 monster. Ling Yu screams for them to run, but the creature immediately slams its club down, catching the examiner in the impact. Yelin calls the man a dumb donkey for not listening, while the resulting shockwave throws both our hero and his companion across the ground. Yelin tells his follower to run while he provides a distraction. Ling Yu refuses to leave, wanting them to escape together, but our guy kicks him away and orders him to stop talking and flee. After pushing his follower to safety, he glares at the monster and realizes that defeating it without revealing his true strength will be a challenge. He charges forward and activates the forbidden spell, Sudden Dance. The examiner tells him to run and leave the fight to him as he prepares to signal for backup. Unfortunately, the goblin lands a direct punch on the examiner, sending the man to the ground calling for help. Yelin rushes drags the unconscious examiner into the shade of the trees. A massive explosion rings out in the distance. Our protagonist looks toward the back and wishes the examiner would remain unconscious so he would not have to worry about exposing his powers. He then stares at the monster, wondering why the flare was launched. Looking through the dust, he spots two new figures arriving on the scene. A red-haired woman and a man in a black coat land near the battlefield and instruct the examinee to leave so they do not accidentally hurt him. Yelin explains that the examiner is injured and that he will carry the unconscious man to safety. Once safely in the shade, our boy opens a box to reveal a mask, noting that it is the perfect time to test the illusion skin. He applies the mask and his appearance shifts to match the unconscious examiner. The red-haired woman stands before the beast, suggesting they eliminate the creature quickly so it does not disrupt the final exam. Meanwhile, our hero steps out looking intensely at the beast and tells the two arrivals that he is here to help his colleagues deal with the threat. He charges energy in his palm, ready to strike. A giant golden arrow manifests in the air, forming the forbidden spell Eternal Arrow. The attack strikes the head of the goblin hero, causing a massive detonation that defeats the creature. Notifications pop up showing that the team earned experience points and a talisman of symbiosis. The disguised protagonist points out to the other examiners that the item drop rate is extremely low, leaving them staring in surprise. As Yahello steals their kill, the male examiner confronts him with frustration, demanding to know his department. The young mage dismisses them casually, refusing to give his real name and instead calling himself Kind Man. This disgusts the red-haired female examiner, prompting the pair to ignore him and proceed with the exam. Once the examiners leave, Yahello sheds his disguise and reveals his true form. He checks the tactical map of the outskirt forest near Qingcheng, noting his position away from the final test teleportation gate, while the unconscious academy examiner rests nearby. He notes how useful the illusion skin is for this deception. He inspects the symbiotic talisman he just looted from the monster. The system details reveal that 2 awakeners with a level difference of less than 10 can completely share experience for 6 hours, functioning like a double experience boost. Suddenly, a frantic scream echoes through the trees. Ling Yu runs desperately while being pursued by a muscular Anubis soldier holding a heavy staff. The monster prepares to strike, but our hero intervenes by pulling his follower out of danger just in time. Yahello quickly grabs Ling Yu to apply the talisman, creating a yin and yang style marking on their palms. Ling Yu looks tearful and confused by the physical closeness. Before the follower can misunderstand the gesture, the jackal-headed monster approaches them from behind. Irritated by the interruption, our protagonist snaps at Ling Yu to snap out of it. Yahello reacts instantly, drawing his sword in a fluid motion to execute the forbidden lifespan sword skill. A massive arc carves through the air, completely vaporizing the monster into black particles. System notifications confirm that the level 13 Anubis soldier is defeated, granting 130 experience points and triggering the symbiosis effect. Ling Yu stares at his hands with wide eyes, realizing the power of the symbiotic talisman. The young mage dismisses his follower with a wave of his hand, instructing him to go hunt monsters independently to maximize the shared experience duration. Ling Yu walks away looking somewhat dejected but understands the logic behind the strategy. In a nearby clearing, a red-skinned werewolf corners a group of the terrified students who are attempting to finish the monster off. Our boy flashes across the area with supernatural speed, summoning 3 spectral skeletons that immediately obliterate the beasts. The onlookers stare in disbelief, recognizing the spellcaster from the previous test. Due to his forbidden class, they judge him for risking his life to kill monsters so rapidly. The students notice the bangle on the wrist of the young mage, realizing his health is recovering. Yahello conceals his immortal nature and turns his attention to a newly arrived level 20 minotaur. The massive creature scatters the students, but our protagonist stands his ground, allowing others to flee while he claims the high-level monsters for himself. He unleashes a devastating and wide-ranging slash that engulfs the entire area, shredding every monster in sight before calmly sliding his sword back into its sheath. Consequently, Ling Yu stands in a different part of the forest, watching a constant stream of experience points scroll past his field of view. The follower feels immense joy knowing that this method of leveling up remains exclusive to them. Back at the Academy Observatory, the principal watches these events on a large screen and lets out a heavy sigh, wishing the talented young mage was not restricted by the forbidden class. He notes that the overall casualty rate among test takers has dropped significantly since the boy has cleared out most of the threats. For this reason, lower-level students are able to walk through the forest safely without encountering a single enemy. The students continue their journey toward the teleportation gate without interference, discussing how beneficial it is to arrive late. Meanwhile, Yahello arrives at the base of the grand staircase where the floating stone teleportation gate stands. He assesses his progress, noting that he has reached level 18, but that leveling up requires significantly more experience now. He begins the climb up the long flight of stairs toward the gate. After stepping into the portal, he emerges in a dark, otherworldly chamber filled with floating debris and obsidian pillars. The hall is crowded and surrounded by the murmur of fellow students. Suddenly, Ling Yu runs up to him in high spirits. He exclaims about his new level 15 status with loud enthusiasm. Our protagonist, feeling annoyed by the attention, peels the young man off and tells him to lower his voice to avoid drawing unwanted eyes. Nearby, Zhugani watches the crowd feeling frustrated that her hard work only yielded a 2-level increase. She remains confident that her skills will carry her through the upcoming final test. Suddenly, the examiners appear on the high platform in front of the monolith, and the chief examiner, Lin Yuan, calls for silence. He greets the Qingcheng candidates and explains that the journey through the wilderness was only an entrance pass. He then announces that the final test consists of 2 parts, a comprehensive assessment and a ring battle. He explains that the comprehensive assessment includes 10 stages, each worth 10 marks, and students must score at least 85 marks to proceed to the ring battle. The ring battle awards 10 marks per win, allowing a maximum of 150 marks to determine the overall top scorer. After warning the students against using special items, the chief examiner directs them into groups of 10 to enter the testing area. As Yelin walks toward the portal, he reflects on the opportunity to forge his own destiny. Meanwhile, in a private observation room, Supervisor Su Chengxin joins Lin Yuan. When she asks about standout candidates, the chief examiner pulls up the digital profile of the young mage, noting that he is already level 18. This revelation surprises the supervisor, as this level qualifies him for the Supreme Academy. However, she points out that it is a shame he chose the path of a forbidden spellcaster. Lin Yuan agrees with this assessment, lamenting that if not for the class limitation, Qing Cheng would produce another powerful figure. Shortly after, the system publishes the results of the second stage, the attributes test. Yelin achieves a perfect score of 10 marks, registering statistics of 480 strength, 270 agility, and 1,199 mental points. This unusual spread shocks two examiners, who wonder why a spellcaster needs high strength and whether he plans to engage in physical brawls. Lin Yuan tells them to wait for the third stage, the attack assessment, where the students must use their strongest skills. During the attack assessment, Yelin considers how to showcase his abilities without revealing his godly chaos thunder. To minimize the display, he touches his neck to select a minor spell and sacrifices his tonsils. He summons the forbidden spell World-Destroying Thunder. The powerful blast instantly vaporizes the target dummy. This display shocks the female examiner, as the dummy was designed to withstand attacks below level 25. Another examiner notes that forbidden spells are naturally destructive, leaving Lin Yuan astonished that the young mage is using such abilities during the assessment. Following this, Yelin completes the 4th through 7th stages, including agility, explosive power, sustained damage, and escape ability, and secures full marks in all of them. Reviewing the results, Lin Yuan laments that the talented youth may not live to see his 20th birthday. One examiner suggests increasing the difficulty for the final stage, prompting Lin Yuan to ask Su Chengxin if the Supreme Academy would accept Yelin with a perfect score. She declines, stating that the Academy would not waste resources on a student whose strength comes at the cost of his lifespan, and names Luo Jun, Wang Zhenglin, Zhuge Ni, and Jiling Yu as preferred candidates. After the assessment concludes, students exit the portals. Ling Yu rushes to Yelin to celebrate scoring 96 marks. The young mage asks why he did not get full marks, and his follower admits he lost points in the actual combat test. Elsewhere in the hall, one student laments scoring only 55 marks, while another expresses relief at passing the 85-mark threshold. Lin Yuan announces the leaderboard, placing Yelin and Zhuge Ni tied for first place with 100 marks, followed by Luo Jun at 98, Jiling Yu at 96, and Wang Zhenglin at 95. Following the announcement, Lin Yuan tells students who scored below 85 to leave the area and warns those remaining that exiting the ring means forfeiting the test. Zhuge Ni steps forward, visibly angry that she is ranked second despite earning full marks. She resents being placed below our protagonist. This ranking causes confusion among the students in the hall, and some female students protest, labeling the decision as unfair and biased against women. To resolve the dispute, Lin Yuan calls for silence and displays video evidence of the tests on the big screen. The chief examiner acknowledges Zhuge Ni's excellent skills, but explains that Yelin defeated a level 25 demonic flame wolf in under a second, using only one skill. This clarification resolves the dispute over the rankings, and seeing that there are no further objections, Lin Yuan allows students scoring above 85 marks to rest for half an hour to prepare for the tournament. Principal of Qingcheng Academy stands with the other masters, laughing heartily as they praise him. Since the academy holds both first and second place on the leaderboard, the masters remark that Qingcheng is going to change the world. The principal adds that the 4th place, Jiling Yu, also belongs to the academy. Another master advises him not to get too excited yet, as the upcoming tournament is the real highlight. The principal simply asks whether Luo Jun can deal with a level 18 forbidden spellcaster, while the other master warns him that anything is possible. After half an hour, Zhuge Ni approaches Yelin with a determined expression, declaring she will not lose to him in the tournament. Following this unexpected challenge, our protagonist stands there with a confused face, wondering why she is acting this way. Chief Examiner Lin Yuan calls for the start of the tournament, displaying a large digital bracket. He explains the rules of the matches, noting that the sum of the two opponents' serial numbers must equal 104. A graphic appears to show that Yelin will fight number 86, Bei Bei Bei. Seeing this announcement, Ling Yu points excitedly at the screen, noting that his own serial number is 24. Yelin tells him to do his best and walks toward the arena to face the water mage. Bei Bei Bei, a level 10 water mage, faces off against Yelin. When the chief examiner instructs them to display their professions and levels, Yelin advises his classmate to surrender immediately. She refuses to back down, stating that she will not let him look down on her and asks him to bring it on. He commends her bravery, noting that anyone who can score over 85 marks is not an ordinary person. He then extends his hand, and a dragon spirit made of lightning descends through arena. The sudden display of power shocks the surrounding students. Bai looks upward in terror. Seeing the attack, an examiner shouts a warning to Yahello that using lethal force will lead to immediate disqualification. Yahello is surprised by the warning, thinking that he does not want to kill her but only needs her to surrender. Bai sits on the ground, crying and trembling with fear. Seeing a beautiful girl cry, a group of students in the crowd judges our hero, making comments about how ruthless he is. Yahello adjusts his glasses and calmly advises her to surrender once more. Bai is then taken away from the arena, and the examiner announces that the young mage wins the first round, adding 10 marks to his total score. Watching the other stages, Yahello feels disappointed that he does not get to fight more and decides to watch the other matches. Jujni defeats her opponent with a fire tome, declaring that they cannot win against her. A student wrapped in dark energy stands over his defeated opponent, boasting about his own strength. Nearby, Ling Yu stands triumphantly over his opponent, noting that he has never experienced the feeling of crushing someone just from a difference in levels. Soon the examiner announces the victories of multiple players. After that, the examiner stands in the center of the arena to start the second round. Yahello faces a new opponent, a level 11 cloud-stepping swordsman named Chen Cheng Chen. The guy declares that although the fight might be difficult, he still intends to win. Yahello draws his sword cautiously, wondering if the opponent has some sort of ultimate skill, but Chen Cheng Chen suddenly shouts that he surrenders. He raises his hand and walks away, leaving our boy in total bewilderment. When Yahello shouts after him about the previous declaration, Chen Cheng Chen replies that it is never too late to take revenge, and they will meet again in the future. The confused examiner announces that Yahello wins the second round and gains 10 marks. Watching this, the students in the audience discuss the result, noting that winning without a fight is normal, since no one wants to risk their life against a short-lived forbidden spellcaster. For the third round, a muscular man in a tank top immediately surrenders to the examiner, calling himself unlucky to draw our protagonist. The examiner announces that Yahello wins the third round and adds another 10 marks. Yahello stands completely shocked with his mouth wide open, wondering how it is possible that his opponents keep surrendering without a fight. Spectators are shocked that our protagonist won 3 consecutive rounds using just one forbidden skill, making the test seem too easy. While some wonder if he will earn full marks with minimal effort, others suggest focusing on the remaining competitors. A fast-paced duel breaks out between Wang Zhengguang and Luo Jun, with Wang taunting his rival about being sent to the loser bracket. The students in the stands watch in shock, realizing these combatants possess a power and speed far beyond their own, while supervisor Su Chengxin confidently predicts Luo Jun's victory. Moments later, Luo Jun charges across the arena with his spear wrapped in dark energy, executing the Shadow Cloud Pierce technique. The strike hits Wang Zhengguang directly, creating an explosive impact that shatters the stone floor as the defeated swordsman cries out in pain. The scene shifts to Yahello, who is sitting on the floor looking thoroughly bored. The examiner announces that the 5th round for him is skipped, leaving him frustrated as he realizes he was passed over once again. However, the mood quickly changes when a new bracket update catches his attention. He sees that Ling Yu is scheduled to fight Zhuge Ni, and he anticipates an interesting matchup. In the arena, Ling Yu stands gripping his sword while facing Zhuge Ni, who floats amidst falling debris. Holding her open fire book, Zhuge Ni looks down at him with confusion, asking why he serves Yahello and what the young mage gave him. Ling Yu glares back with fierce loyalty, stating that Yahello is his boss and that she will eventually regret looking down on him. Calling his stance stubborn, Zhuge Ni prepares her magic. She casts Phoenix Flame Explosion, sending multiple fireballs rushing toward Ling Yu. Panicked by the intense heat, Ling Yu notes that her fire spells are instant cast. Realizing he is a close-range fighter and she specializes in distance attacks, he recognizes he cannot afford a single hit. He dodges frantically as explosions erupt around them. Zhuge extends her hand to command a massive column of fire, demanding to know how long he can evade her attacks. Ling Yu sprints across the arena, narrowly avoiding the fire tornadoes and columns erupting from the ground. Coming to a sudden halt, he looks upward with determination. Recognizing he cannot simply dodge forever, he decides to counterattack. He lunges into the air, using his sword skill to slash through the flames with a heavy arc of energy. When the smoke clears, Ling Yu lands on his feet, sweating and panting heavily, and declares that he is ready to fight. Looking down coldly, Zhuge Ni calls him an idiot and tells him to surrender. She casts a red flame surge, creating a massive wall of fire that floods the arena and completely engulfs Ling Yu. In the flames, Ling Yu declares that those who underestimate him will pay, while Zhuge Ni dismisses his words as overconfidence. Watching the inferno, Yahello thinks to himself that his follower is simply no match for the fire mage. On the viewing platform, Lin Yuan and Su Chengxin watch the flames. Supervisor Su Chengxin states that Jiling Yu is going to lose. Alarmed by the intensity of the blaze, Lin Yuan wonders if the student is out of his mind and orders the examiners to prepare for a rescue. Inside the wall of fire, a dark silhouette remains standing, causing Zhuge Ni to look down in shock as the flames part. Ling Yu emerges from the inferno, his clothes shredded, and his body covered in severe burns, with half of his face and shoulder blackened. He lunges forward, warning the mage that she can provoke him, but she must not touch his boss. Horrified and stunned by his persistence, Zhugani watches as Ling Yu loses consciousness and collapses face first onto the ground. Yilin rushes to his follower's side, calling out his name in alarm. The examiners and medics sprint onto the arena floor, calling for urgent medical help. Reaching the fallen student, our protagonist places the yin-yang bangle over the young man's chest to protect his heart. Zhugni stands nearby looking guilty, admitting she did not realize he would push himself that far. Yelin gives her assurance as he knows it is not her fault. An examiner confirms that Jiling Yu is out of danger, but suffers from massive burns that require immediate hospitalization. As medics carry him away on a stretcher, Ling Yu urges our boy to give it his all in the tournament. Shortly after, the examiner displays the updated digital bracket for the quarterfinals, announcing that Zhugani will face Lin Ling Lin, while Ye Lin is set to battle Luo Jun. The announcement confirms that this year's top scorer will emerge from these 4 finalists. In the observation area, Principal Su confidently predicts a victory for Yukai Academy's Luo Jun, dismissing the threat of the 18-level forbidden spellcaster. Principal Gao of Qingqing counters by highlighting their academy's strong showing in the finals, leading to a brief argument that is interrupted as the match begins. On the tournament stage, Luo Jun, wielding the Shadow Dragon Spear, faces off against Ye Lin. Eager to prove his worth, Luo Jun lunges forward, declaring that defeating the young mage is his only path to the top scorer position. Our guy stands opposite him, completely calm and unbothered by the boast. As the chief examiner signals the start of the match, Luo Jun rushes in with incredible speed, demanding that his opponent surrender. Instead of relying on magic, our hero draws his blade and blocks the incoming strike. Internally, he decides to withhold his forbidden spells, opting instead to test his opponent against his lifespan sword skill. The sudden close-quarters combat shocks Luo Jun, who had not expected a spellcaster to possess such physical prowess. With a swift push, Ye Lin sweeps his blade in a wide arc, infusing it with energy to force the attacker into a defensive posture while explaining the strength of the sword technique. Watching from the sidelines, the audience grows confused. Students wonder why a forbidden mage is engaging in physical clashes instead of casting spells. Meanwhile, the principals and masters on the viewing platform recognize the technique. Principal Su questions if the move is a forbidden spell. Principal Gao confirms that it is the lifespan sword skill, a technique that sacrifices a user's lifespan to amplify the power of each consecutive slash. The observation prompts a heated argument between the two principals over whether a single match justifies the sacrifice of a student's life, though Principal Su remains unbothered by the ethical concerns. Sensing that the fight is dragging on and that he risks losing if the pace continues, our hero presses Luo Jun to surrender. Unfortunately, this pressure pushes his opponent to the edge. With a manic look, Luo Jun declares that he has been forced to use a forbidden spell talisman, unleashing a massive wave of black energy. The shockwave catches Ye Lin off guard, and the young mage realizes too late that his opponent holds an illegal talisman. Luo Jun leaps into the air, his spear enveloped in a dark, terrifying aura. He executes the Shadow Dragon Meteor, a forbidden spell that strikes our protagonist directly in the chest. Blood splatters across the stage as the dust settles, revealing the spear piercing completely through Ye Lin's chest. Luo Jun assumes the battle is won and tells the youth to prepare for death. The crowd is stunned by the outcome. In the stands, the spectators whisper in disapproval, recognizing that the use of a forbidden spell talisman severely damages the body. The examiners discuss how Yukai Academy allowed the move just to secure the top scorer spot. This prompts a furious confrontation between Principal Gao and Principal Su over the lack of conscience, though the Yukai Academy principal dismisses the anger and insists on the validity of the result. On the sidelines, Zhugani watches the scene with disbelief. Although she feels a pang of sadness and regret that her classmate did not heed her advice, her father, Zhuge Qianxing, calmly tells her the match is not yet finished. Luo Jun gloats about his victory, but our protagonist's eyes flare with anger. He asks who told his opponent that the battle has ended. To Luo Jun's pure horror, the young mage stands upright and pulls the spear out of his own chest. He explains that a forbidden spellcaster cannot be killed by others. They can only perish through their own spells. Energy gathers over Ye Lin's heart as he activates the Undying spell, trading his lifespan to nullify the fatal attack. The crowd erupts into complete disbelief, realizing the immortal nature of the forbidden class. The examiners are left sweating as they recognize that the student not only learned the lost spell, but is using equipment to heal his wounds with absolute calmness. Our protagonist raises his hand, popping electrical energy. With a cold gaze, he releases the world-destroying thunder. A massive lightning bolt erupts from the ground, completely consuming Luo Jun. The impact sends the opponent crashing to the floor. The chief examiner rushes to the center of the stage, announcing the victory and calling for medics. The battle concludes, and our protagonist looks toward the top of the stairs, where the principals and masters stand watching, satisfied. Ye Lin kneels in the center of the arena, coughing blood onto the floor. Seeing this, a master on the viewing platform panics, assuming the spell has backfired and damaged the boy's internal organs. Luckily, our hero remains composed and decides to play up his injuries to keep his regeneration ability a secret. Principal Su steps forward and demands action, claiming that Qing City Academy attempted murder by using a forbidden spell against a level 14 job changer. Principal Gao quickly defends his student, which results in a shouting match between the two academics before Principal Su threatens to take the matter to the Ministry of Education. Amidst the chaos, Yelin sits quietly on the floor, adjusting himself and reflecting on how exhausting this exam is, even more tiring than dealing with Ken Sen. Just as he finishes his thought, a pair of red boots steps into his view. Zhugni stands before him, offering to delay the match until he recovers so she does not take advantage of his weakened state. Uninterested in the offer, the young mage coldly declines her proposal. 30 minutes pass before the announcer calls for the final round. Zhugnai enters the arena, determined to be cautious against the dangerous forbidden spells. Meanwhile, Yelin wonders how to win without seriously injuring her, knowing that her father, Zhuge Qianxing, will not let him off if she is hurt. Zhugni opens the match by casting Explosive Phoenix Flame and launching a barrage of fireballs. Yelin dodges the explosions with high-speed maneuvers using the sudden dance technique, deciding to stall until she exhausts her mana. Seeing him only evade her attacks, the observing students begin to gossip. Some speculate that the previous spell is too exhausting, while others assume he is going easy on her because he is her father's new disciple. Zhugni grows increasingly annoyed by the evasion, accusing the young mage of trying to humiliate her. Yelin asks if there is a rule against dodging, which only fuels her anger. She gathers her energy and unleashes a red flame surge, sending a massive wave of fire across the arena. Our boy remains unfazed by the attack. Deciding it is time to end the exchange, he uses a speed-boosting skill to close the distance. He suddenly appears directly in front of Zhuge Ni with his blade drawn, announcing her defeat. Humiliated by the sudden close-quarters move, she trembles with rage and fires another round of projectiles as he retreats. Zhuge Ni then centers her energy, surrounded by scrolls and intense heat. The surrounding audience feels the massive pressure as she casts Fire Tornado, generating massive swirling flames that pursue our hero across the arena. Yelin identifies the attack as a homing skill and stops running. He suddenly appears directly behind Zhuge Ni and points out that using a homing skill against a faster opponent is essentially a fatal mistake. He advises her to give up and end the skill. Stubborn and refusing to accept defeat, the young woman declares she will fight even if it means destroying them both. On the observation deck, Zhuge Qianxing watches in horror, and an official orders the guards to intervene. Standing in the wide arena, Yelin and his rival appear dwarfed by the towering, twisting pillars of fire. Our guy, observing the dangerous display, thinks to himself that the young woman is acting crazy. Without wasting time, he lunges forward through the flames and firmly grabs the mage by her shoulder. He stands with his arm outstretched toward a large black circular sigil forming in the air, pulling the girl close as he shouts the word sacrifice. A massive pagoda-style gate erupts from the ground between the two fighters. At the center of the gate is a giant gray stone demon head with red eyes. This forbidden spell, known as the Wailing Wall, allows the caster to sacrifice their lifespan to summon a protective barrier from the depths of hell. The barrier nullifies incoming attacks unless the attacker is at least 20 levels above the spellcaster. The jaw of the stone demon head drops open. Since the spell is active, the twisting pillars of fire are sucked directly into the open mouth of the demon. The flames vanish completely into the void, leaving only faint trails of smoke behind. The gate remains standing in the center of the arena, leaving the audience of students in the stands completely awestruck and confused about how an examinee could cast such a forbidden spell. Yelin looks physically drained from the effort. He thinks to himself that he is lucky to have unlocked this forbidden spell, as he would not have known how else to handle the situation. He stands beside Zhuge Ni, who looks dazed and exhausted. He looks down at her with a calm, teasing expression, telling the young woman to stop dozing off and to fix her disheveled hair. Zhuge Ni flushes with a bright red blush and looks away shyly. Deep down, she realizes her heart is beating rapidly and wonders if he is not as disgusting as she initially thought. The audience gossips about their interaction, imagining an arrogant princess falling for a strong yet gentle knight. They speculate that our protagonist had been dodging her attacks simply on account of being scared of hurting her. Suddenly, without any warning, Yelin delivers a swift kick to Zhuge Ni, sending her flying out of the arena ring. The impact causes her to land hard on her face outside the boundary. The students and officials watch in disbelief, while Zhuge Qianxing stands in embarrassment. Zhuge Ni sits on the ground, looking back at the boy with an expression twisted in rage, and screams at the top of her lungs that she is not finished with him. Chief Examiner Lin Yuan approaches and announces that Yelin has won the final round of the ring tournament and earned 10 marks. The examiner officially confirms that our boy has reached a total of 150 marks, making him the undisputed top scorer of the Qing City final exams. Yilin stands tall while the crowd behind him erupts into a sea of cheering students. He smiles, thinking to himself that the trial is finally over. A female student from the crowd asks him which academy he wishes to attend. With bright, excited eyes and a confident smile, Yilin announces that he intends to enter the Supreme Academy. The entire stadium erupts in cheers as the crowd chants the name of the prestigious institution. Supervisor Su Chengxin walks forward into the arena, flanked by the chief examiner and the principal of Qing City. Her expression is solemn as she shatters his dream, informing the young mage that he cannot enter the Supreme Academy. Yilin looks at her in complete confusion and asks for the reason. The supervisor explains that as he is a forbidden spellcaster with a maximum lifespan of 24 years, the academy sees no value in training him. Yilin falls into a state of quiet realization and accepts the decision without argument. The surrounding students begin to whisper among themselves, judging the choice and pitying the hero. They reason that the academy is right to refuse a student with such a short lifespan. Suddenly, Zhuge Sankang walks toward Supervisor Su Chouxin to intervene. The master urges her to wait and reveals that he may have found a solution. The supervisor asks for an explanation, and the astrologer claims that as the master of the young mage, he has found a new way to reduce the harm caused when casting forbidden spells. He challenges the officials to conduct a checkup on the body of the student to verify the claim. The chief examiner and the principal look on with skepticism. Supervisor Su Chengxin questions his expertise in comparison to the professors inside the Supreme Academy. She demands to know who will compensate for the lost resources if the young mage still dies before the age of 25. The two continue to argue about their relationship and the future of a genius. In the foreground, students whisper about the rumors between the two officials, criticizing the cruelty of the rejection and the lack of a physical examination. Yilin addresses his master, looking resigned to the situation. He asks his master to forget the issue and states that it is fine if he does not enter the Supreme Academy, for there are no hard feelings about the rejection. Zhuge Qianshang tries to keep him on track, but a blue-cloaked figure suddenly attacks our hero with high speed, criticizing his arrogance. Yilin stands his ground, looking furious as he realizes his sleeve has been shredded by the attack. When he demands to know the identity of the assailant, the attacker reveals himself as Yunguan Lu, a first-year student from the Supreme Academy with a smug expression. The young man mocks our hero as nothing more than dust in the wind, asking how a forbidden spellcaster dares to speak so boldly. Supervisor Su Chengxin stands firm and warns Yunguan Lao that any further attacks will force her to make him write a letter of apology. Yunguan Lao unrepentantly points his finger upward, claiming he was merely attempting to say hello and laughing that he did not realize the young mage was so weak. The chief examiner and the principal of Qing City rush to check on Yilin, asking if he is injured. After stating he is fine, Yilin starts walking away from the group and states that he will remember the events of the day. Yunguan Lao mocks his retreat, offering him the chance to challenge him at any time. As there are too many people around, our hero replies that he will let the matter go for now, but will definitely take his revenge. Yunguan Lao laughs at the declaration and shows pure disdain. This disrespect prompts Yilin to challenge the student to a life-or-death battle exactly 1 year from that day. The sudden challenge shocks Zhuge Qianxing and the observing students. The crowd whispers among themselves in disbelief. Yilin stares coldly at his rival, demanding to know if he accepts the terms. Yunguan Lao confidently accepts the life-or-death challenge. Our protagonist agrees to the deal before turning to walk away into the distance. While leaving, he thinks that the Supreme Academy is quite interesting and plots how he will crush his opponents completely. The scene shifts to the academy stairs where the old principal of Qingcheng pats the young mage on the shoulder. As a crowd gathers, the students cheer in celebration of the new top scorer. Later, Yilin and his master, Zhuge Qianxing, sit together in a private lounge. Our boy asks if Zhuge Ni is all right. The master explains that she is only feeling down since her loss, but will recover soon. This update relieves the boy. He then curiously asks about the relationship between his master and Su Chengxin. The master admits that she was his first love. Listening from the nearby stairs, Zhuge Ni is stunned to hear this revelation. Yilin is equally surprised and notes that they seem more like peers of different generations. The master explains that they broke up early on due to personality differences. However, 5 years later, she returned to ask for reconciliation. Zhuge Ni, stepping closer, asks what happened next, and Yilin asks if they got back together. The master sighs and says that reconciliation was impossible for he already had his daughter. Zhuge Ni responds with surprise, and the young mage finds the situation unfortunate. The master tells them to let the past go and encourages his daughter to do her best at the Supreme Academy without worrying about the past. Zhuge Ni agrees, and the master turns his attention to Yilin. He suggests that the young mage should aim for Daxia Academy. Yilin agrees that Daxia is a solid choice. The master tells both of them to rest up as admission officials will likely arrive by morning. The second day arrives. the academy building is celebrating the achievements of the local geniuses. The old principal introduces Yelin and Zhugani to the city lord and teacher Su. Both students greet the visitors respectfully. Teacher Su hands Zhugani an admission book, and the young woman accepts it with a triumphant smile. She looks at the young mage, secretly celebrating that she finally defeated her rival. The old principal then leads Yelin to the city lord. The official shakes our hero's hand and praises his impressive temperament. Startled by the gesture, Yelin greets the city lord in return. With reporters and photographers surrounding the scene to capture the moment, the city lord confirms that the 5 million yuan prize will be given without any deduction. Yelin thanks the official and expresses his long-standing fear of poverty owing to his years in the slums. The city lord calls for the rewards, and the boy is surprised to see skill scrolls included in the case. The official explains that Qingqing has prepared an epic-grade self-selection skill scroll alongside an exclusive admission qualification for the top scorer realm. Our protagonist looks at the token in his hand with deep surprise, realizing it grants entry to the secret area reserved only for top scorers. The city lord confirms that the realm provides immunity to damage. This information makes Yelin wonder if he can reach level 99 before leaving. The principal clarifies that the realm has a limited number of monsters, but that the damage immunity will be very useful. The city lord pats Yelin on the shoulder and encourages him to win the national top scorer title for Qingqing. Our hero is surprised to learn about the national competition. The principal explains that achieving the highest level in the realm will secure the national title. Realizing the rewards will be even better, Yelin confidently promises to win the title. The principal and city lord smile brightly, and a photographer takes a group photo to mark the occasion. Later, Yelin and his master walk down a path in a park. The astrologer reminds him not to use any lifespan-consuming skills inside the top scorer realm. Our hero replies that he understands the secret realm provides immunity to damage but cannot stop age progression. The older man confirms this before stating he has other matters to attend to in Qingqing, advising the guy to be careful. The scene then shifts to the towering skyscrapers of Shenzhen. Standing on the crowded street, Yelin observes the scale of the metropolis, noting that this is his first time outside of his hometown. He continues to walk through the bustling crowd before arriving at the Marina building. Bai Lin, a receptionist in a professional suit, meets him at the entrance and leads him toward his accommodation. As they walk down the hallway, the receptionist explains that the top scorer realm has not yet opened and offers assistance should he need anything during the wait. Inside the hotel room, Yelin falls onto the bed holding a scroll and feeling exhausted. He realizes that since he arrived in Shenzhen early, he can take this time to explore the city. Suddenly, violent banging echoes from the door, and the voice outside demands that he open up. Yelin sits up in confusion, wondering why someone is knocking on his room, as it should be a single occupancy space. The door is kicked open by a girl wearing blonde twin tails. She stands in the doorway looking furious and asks why he is in her room, and our hero asks who she is. Mishu clenches her fists and calls him a pervert for laying hands on her and staying inside the room, and then throws a punch. Yelin narrowly dodges the strike, causing her to smash through the wall behind him. Mishu turns back, surprised by his speed, while Yelin holds up a hand to stop her. He explains that she is mistaken about his intentions. Ignoring his plea, Mishu prepares another strike, which forces him to take action. He sacrifices his appendix to release thick wooden roots that erupt from the floor and grabs the girl. He walks closer and holds up his room card, telling her to stop struggling. He explains that the new forbidden spell is designed for wild people and tells her that the room number is 6099. Mishu looks at the card in shock, now that her own card also reads 6099. Our hero releases the girl, and the wooden roots dissipate as tells him to check for himself. He notices the orientation of the card, reaches out to flip it, and reveals that the number is actually 6609. After understanding the drama she created, Mishu clasps her hands and bows slightly in apology for her rash behavior. Yelin tells her not to worry about it, but reminds her to have the staff repair the wall when she leaves. Looking at the hole in the wall, Mishu offers to treat him to a meal to compensate for the damage. Yelin declines the compensation, but asks her to come along with him on a walk. As they walk through the street at sunset, the young mage asks about her profession due to her high explosive strength. She introduces herself as Mi Shui, the top scorer of Haicheng, and reveals her SSS-class berserker profession. Yelin tells her he is from Qingcheng. Mishu assumes he was admitted into the Supreme Academy. Yelin sighs and explains that the institution rejected him on account of being a short-lived forbidden spellcaster. Mishu stops and looks at him in disbelief, questioning how they could refuse someone with such high strength. He explains that fate decided this path for him. Mishu shakes off the awkward mood and points toward a nearby building, changing the topic to avoid further depression and offering to take him out for some good food. Our hero agrees. They enter a luxury restaurant which Mishu notes is the most famous spot in Shenzhen. Suddenly, a tall woman named Yi Ning approaches the duo alongside her man. She mocks Mishu for finding a man to eat with, which makes the berserker shout in anger. Ignoring the emotional girl, Yi Ning leans in close to Yelin. Looking into the eyes of Yaelin, she offers to introduce him to her beautiful friends. Because of this annoying interruption, our hero gives her a deadpan expression and bluntly tells her to stay away due to her bad breath. This leaves Yining frozen in shock while Mihue watches, amused. The girl's shock quickly turns into a malicious expression as she warns him. To avoid the scene, Yaelin suggests that he and Mihue find somewhere else to eat, noting that the restaurant smells bad. The sudden insult provokes Wu Shaoqi, the angel paladin accompanying Yining. Stepping forward, the level 22 job changer demands an apology, expressing his hatred for poor trash from backwater places. Yining quickly eggs him on, demanding that he teach them a lesson. This display of power worries Mihue, who clutches Yaelin's arm, doubting that the two of them can defeat an angel paladin of this level. Unfazed by the threat, Yaelin looks back over his shoulder and retorts that he despises rich punks who reek just as much. This causes Wu Shaoqi to summon a massive angelic figure with multiple wings behind him, as he demands to know what the young mage just said. In response, Yaelin gathers blue energy around his body and steps up, expressing his desire to fight the paladin. The presence of the SSS-class paladin draws the attention of the surrounding students, who whisper in awe about the potential clash. However, an investigator steps between them before the fight can start. The official warns them that fighting inside the city carries a hefty fine of 30 grand and 30 days of detention. Hearing this, Mihue urges the young mage to step down, noting that the top scorer realm is opening soon and the fight is not worth the penalty. Yaelin agrees, allowing the paladin and his companion to walk away. Before leaving, Wu Shaoqi glares at Yaelin, warning him to watch his back inside the secret realm. Seeing the conflict, Mihue looks dejected and apologizes for bringing trouble to our hero. Yaelin asks why the woman is so hostile towards her. Mihue explains that they are half-sisters, and Yining is afraid her sibling might snatch the top scorer position, which is why she was motivated to take the test in a smaller city. When Mihue wonders about eating elsewhere, Yaelin insists on staying at the famous restaurant, stating that his appetite remains great. A few days later, on the third day, a big crowd gathers before a giant bridge structure containing a red portal. A white-haired man with a mark on his forehead, Zheng Chanqi, steps onto the high platform. He introduces himself as the supervisor for this session and announces the upcoming opening of the secret realm. Standing in the crowd, Yaelin carries a bag of food, asking Mihue why she brought so many supplies. She explains that she prepared the food to ensure he does not starve during their stay inside the secret realm. Our boy nods, realizing the logic in her preparation. Zheng Kanqi continues his announcement by explaining the rules. He warns the students that damage immunity only applies inside the secret realm, and they should not leave if they take lethal damage. The supervisor notes that priests above level 50 are stationed at the entrance to heal them, and leaving without this treatment leads to severe consequences. Next, the supervisor explains the protocol for injuries. He warns that if an examinee loses a limb, they must carry it with them to the entrance and find a priest for reattachment, for regrowing it afterward is very difficult. Lastly, Zheng Tianqi warns them not to get eaten by demonic monsters. He jokes about the terrifying feeling of having one's torso digested. This warning helps our hero realize that the body is only immune to damage inside the realm, rather than being impervious to external hazards. Mihue, however, shivers at the mere thought. With the explanations complete, Zheng Chanqi opens the portal and gives the candidates 10 minutes to form teams, or enter alone if they are confident. Mihue suggests forming a party together. Yaelin agrees, on the condition that she carries his bags. Since her berserker profession grants her immense strength, she accepts without hesitation. A male student with blue hair steps forward to criticize the arrangement, calling it ungentlemanly and offering to form a team instead. This annoys Mihue, whose arm transforms into a giant muscular limb surrounded by aura. She threatens to punch him into a pulp, causing the student to back away in fear. Nearby, Wu Shaoqi and Yining begin recruiting team members who are above level 20. Yaelin notes that the paladin is rather strong. Wu Shaoqi spots the young mage and confronts him again. He mocks our guy for his background in a small county town, offering him a chance to kowtow 3 times. Yaelin just laughs at the demand, calling him an idiot. Enraged by the insult, Wu Shaoqi lunges forward with a punch. However, Zheng Kanqi intervenes, blocking the attack and sending the paladin staggering backward. As the supervisor warns the paladin against causing trouble, he threatens to revoke his examination qualification if he steps out of line again. The supervisor Zheng Sanqi announces the opening of the secret realm to the gathered candidates, while an official warns the students that breaking any rules will lead to immediate disqualification. Nearby, Wu Shaoqi casts a malicious glare back toward Yaelin, muttering that they will settle their score eventually. Our protagonist stands before a massive portal alongside Mihue. Sensing the danger ahead, the female student urges extra caution, but the young mage assures her that he knows exactly what he is doing. They step through the gateway, emerging into a vibrant, dense green forest. As the pair walks down the trail, Mihue carries a large backpack and remarks on the unexpected tranquility of the surroundings. However, Yelin warns her that danger lurks beneath the peaceful exterior. Suddenly, a level 20 gargoyle erupts from a rock face, towering directly over them. Mishu sprints forward, kicking up a trail of dust, and tells our hero to save his strength. She punches the monster with enough force to shatter its stone face, pulverizing the gargoyle into fragments. Watching this from a distance, the young mage thinks about how the cute girl fights with intense aggression. Even so, he decides that relying on melee combat is too slow for his goals. Since time is limited, he decides to take matters into his own hands. He raises his hand toward the monster and unleashes a massive bolt of blue lightning, instantly obliterating it. The sudden display leaves Mishui in shock. When the reward notification displays 70 EXP for defeating the level 20 beast, she asks how he managed such a feat. Yelin explains that his power stems from his forbidden spellcaster class. He clutches his side, noting that the damage immunity inside the realm is the only reason his body can withstand the sacrifice. Realizing the brutal cost of casting forbidden spells, Mishui listens carefully as the young mage urges her to move deeper into the realm. He explains that the monsters become stronger, requiring constant alertness. As they continue their trek through the wooded area, the female companion brings up the fact that the Supreme Academy rejected our hero because of his class. Yelin accepts his short lifespan, content with the chance to accomplish his goals before his time is up. Their conversation is abruptly cut short when a level 25 giant poison centipede, a massive red insect with multiple limbs, looms over them. The beast roars, and its massive legs slam into the ground, sending rocks and dirt flying in an explosion of debris. Yelin and Mishui leap through the air to dodge the falling debris. After landing, the female student coughs and shows signs of injury, prompting our protagonist to step forward and tell her to leave the threat to him. The young mage prepares his magic. His chest and arms disappear, revealing his ribs and a red sacrifice seal. Due to the sacrifice, a massive blue lightning dragon shoots toward the monster, engulfing the area in blue energy. The attack is known as the World-Destroying Thunder. The blast takes out a level 22 poison scorpion in the surrounding brush. Suddenly, a level 25 skeleton blade shield warrior lunges at them. Mishu shouts a warning, but Yelin sends an energy strike that vaporizes the skeleton instantly. Trembling at the destructive display, Mishui points out how terrifying it is to watch the young mage eliminate monsters without effort. Before they can relax, an abyss ratman bursts from a hole in the ground and grabs Yelin's foot in an ambush. Irritated by the sneak attack, the young mage floats into the air and summons a chaotic storm of lightning. He casts Eternal Thunder, instantly defeating the rat. When he lands safely, a system notification announces his rise to level 20. Now that the situation is clear, Mishui understands that because the young mage is immune to damage inside the secret realm, he can use his spells at full strength without permanent harm. Yelin asks jokingly if it took her that long to figure it out, and she laughs, confirming her guess. Our hero opens a digital status window to check his class and attributes. Recognizing that reaching level 20 allows him to unlock his second talent, he decides to test his new ability. He asks Mishui for the fireball scroll she picked up. She hands it over, expressing concern for it is only a regular skill. As the young mage holds the scroll, flames begin to appear. The class talent, Ultimate Sublimation, activates. The regular spell is upgraded into the forbidden spell, Flame God's Breath. A system notification appears, indicating the nature of the newly generated skill, which requires the caster to burn their own life force to summon divine flames that incinerate everything in their path. Delighted by the upgrade, Yelin turns to his companion, holding an orb of fire. This display leaves Mishui utterly bewildered, as she has never encountered such an ability. To test the new power, our hero launches the massive fireball across the green field, triggering a huge, star-like explosion that towers over the forest horizon. The explosive light reflects off the two students, leaving Mishui in pure awe while Yelin smiles confidently at the destructive results. Knowing that time is short, the young mage moves forward to continue leveling up. Meanwhile, in another part of the forest, Yining Ning and Wu Shaoqi witness the massive fire cloud, wondering if an invigilator entered the secret realm to cause such a loud disturbance. Outside, Zheng Kanqi monitors the screen, equally perplexed by the sudden release of such a high-magnitude skill. Yelin and Mishui return to a clearing to grab a bite to eat. During the break, the female student marvels at their rapid progression, noting how fast they have been leveling up. While looking around, the young mage spots a sleeping treasure toad near a waterfall. Since the creature's value depends on its level, our protagonist realizes that this level 26 toad holds significant rewards. He instructs Mihui to remain quiet so as not to startle it, outlining a plan where he will control the beast while Mihui catches it. Unfortunately, their plan is interrupted when Wu Shaoqi and his group suddenly emerge, shouting and causing the toad to wake up and jump away. Although our boy tries to restrain the creature with black energy chains, the beast escapes. The failure frustrates the hero, while his companion is furious at the newcomers for ruining their plans. Wu Shaoqi confronts the pair, threatening to make the young mage experience a fate worse than death. Onlookers gossip about Yehlin's bad luck in encountering such a group. Unfazed by the threats, our hero forms a small dark fireball in his hand, warning the attackers that he will ensure all of them experience pain for ruining his plans. A teal-haired man mocks the small fireball, but the orb suddenly expands into a massive black vortex, leaving the group confused. Yehlin unleashes the flame god's breath at the group, causing Wu Shaoqi and Yi Ningning to panic in the face of the overwhelming heat. After the fiery strike, the young mage readies an ice vortex spell to teach them a lesson. As massive blue energy swirls around the area, Yi Ningning recoils in terror at his mastery of both fire and ice. A rain of sharp ice shards plummets toward the attackers, prompting Wu Shaoqi to deploy a holy shield. The attacker then draws the golden 10-fist sword and lunges forward alongside his group. Because he believes numbers will give them an advantage, Wu Shaoqi orders an all-out assault on the young mage. Onlookers on a distant cliff observe the clash, questioning if the boy is an elemental mage or a forbidden spellcaster given his multiple abilities. To escalate the fight, our hero takes out a small gray orb and casts the Falling Rock spell. Rather than a minor attack, the spell summons a massive meteor in the sky. The sight fills the attackers with despair, now that they realize they are dealing with an actual forbidden mage using the Forbidden Starfall spell. The massive rock impacts the ground, throwing Yi Ningning and Wu Shaoqi through the air with a deafening explosion of dust and debris. Wu Shaoqi tumbles backward, coughing up blood, and looks up in disbelief. He asks our hero if he truly intends to fight the powerful Wu family. Yehlin simply looks down at the wounded students with a mocking finger raised. He assures them that they will not die, and that the impact will only be painful, adding that he is sure the Wu family will not mind it. Suddenly, another gargantuan rock descends from the sky, casting a heavy shadow over the area. Seeing the new threat, the shark-hooded student and his group panic. Yi Ningning and Wu Shaoqi cry out in despair, warning that they are students of the Supreme Academy and questioning the cruelty of the attack. Hearing their plea, Yehlin's eyes narrow with a cold glint. He points out that the Supreme Academy rejected him, meaning they are not fellow students, and tells them to enjoy the impact. The massive stone slams into the group, creating a deep crater. Watching from a safe distance, the onlookers and the shark-hooded student remark that the forbidden spellcaster is not human and comment on the miserable state of the victims. Yehlin tells the onlookers to take the injured students to the healers, which they agree to do. Once the area clears, our protagonist lets out a sigh, noting that the world is finally quiet. He turns to Mihui, suggesting they resume their search for the treasure toad. Mishu agrees and follows him, carrying her large backpack. Meanwhile, at the outdoor encampment near the medical tent, Zheng Chanqi stands with his staff and observes that not a single top scorer has arrived yet. His subordinate agrees, noting that this year's candidates seem stronger than in previous years. Suddenly, another subordinate runs over to report an injury, forcing the supervisor to turn toward the incoming wounded students. Noting the severity of the injuries, Zheng Kanqi orders the clerics to heal them. When the supervisor asks the students about the cause, one of them replies they encountered a forbidden spellcaster. This revelation leaves the supervisor completely stunned. Later that evening, under a full moon, Yehlin and his companions sit by a small campfire. While Mishua eats meat on a stick, she asks our hero if he wants to eat more. He declines, stating that he is full and needs to rest as much as possible to level up tomorrow. Mishua watches him settle in, noting how fast he levels up compared to anyone else she has met, and resolves to work harder. Suddenly, a rustling sound breaks the silence. A massive level 36 Cerberus towers over the trees. Terrified by the sight, Mishui calls out in shock as the monster breathes a torrent of purple fire toward the campsite. Luckily, she grabs Yehlin and dives out of the way just in time. Recognizing the high-grade monster, our hero tells his companion to stay back while he deals with the threat. He gathers an orb of intense orange fire from his scroll and hurls it at the beast. The fireball expands as it approaches, but Cerberus lunges forward and catches the attack in its central jaw, leaving the duo in disbelief. The monster roars and vomits a corrosive green liquid around Yehlin's feet. As he finds himself partially submerged in the slime, he warns Mishui not to get caught in the fluid. Suddenly, the massive teeth of the Cerberus loom over him. Realizing that high-grade monsters are difficult to handle, our hero decides to use his powers. Vibrant flames instantly engulf his body, activating the Flame of Karma and a speed boost. With a determined look, the young mage addresses the beast, remarking that since it likes to eat, he will give it plenty more to swallow. High in the night sky, our protagonist suspends himself within a golden circular energy field. From this vantage point, he unleashes a massive bolt of lightning downward, hitting the Cerberus directly and disintegrating one of its heads in a spray of dark fluid. Moments later, the monster attempts to corner the two students by vomiting corrosive green slime at them. Luckily, our hero deploys the forbidden spell, Wailing Wall, to block the acidic fluid. Following the defensive block, the young mage lunges through the air, leaving a blue energy trail as he delivers a devastating slash across the beast. When the monster withstands the attack, he points a finger, summoning a giant blue ethereal beast head that discharges another burst of electricity. Despite the onslaught, the Cerberus survives, but its body begins to swell with dark energy. Realizing that the monster is about to self-destruct, Yahello grabs his companion's arm. Spurred by this realization, the duo leaps through the forest canopy, escaping just as a massive explosion of flame erupts behind them under the full moon. Once the adrenaline fades, the pair catch their breath in a safe spot, noting their good fortune at getting away in time. As a reward for defeating the high-grade monster, the system grants them 720 experience points. Their peace is short-lived, however, when the sound of croaking draws their attention. Emerging from behind a tree, the golden treasure toad appears, carrying a piece of dragon-scale gold ore. Since the ore is a rare crafting material that can be used by a master blacksmith to forge epic-grade equipment, Mi Shui looks on with excitement. Yahello inspects the ore but demands the toad provide more treasures. Unfortunately, the toad only spits out an ordinary stone, which leaves our boy highly annoyed. Meanwhile, in a medical camp far across the region, Zheng Qianqi speaks with two robed figures who confirm the successful surgery of Wu Shaoqi and the other injured students. Battered and leaning on a crutch, Wu Shaoqi steps out of a tent, his body not yet fully recovered. Overwhelmed by anger, the student shouts and vows revenge against Yahello, even as the supervisor warns him to rest. Back in the forest, Yahello ties the reluctant toad to a tree near their campfire. Due to the creature's refusal to cooperate, he threatens to end its suffering. He opens the beast's mouth, forcing it to release an ornate magic staff tied with a black ribbon. Both students are stunned to find that it is an epic-grade item that boosts psychic strength by 50%, while reducing the cost and increasing the power of fire-type spells. Eager to test the weapon, Yahello points the staff to cast an energy slash. Thanks to the ultimate sublimation talent, the regular Flame Edge spell transforms into the devastating Flame God's Fury Slash. The resulting energy wave travels into the distance, slicing the top off a distant mountain and setting it ablaze. Impressed by the destruction, our hero smiles lightly and decides to let the toad go free on account of its honest appearance. The creature quickly scrambles into the darkness. With the test continuing, the young mage and his companion set off into the night to find more monsters. High on a tree branch, Yahello looks out over the heavy moonlit forest, wondering why no monsters are appearing. Mishu sits beside him, pointing out that he has cleared out almost all the monsters in the secret realm over the past few days. With the area now empty, he decides that staying inside is just a waste of time. He leaps off the cliff into the darkness, followed by the surprised Mi Shui, who notes that the exam isn't over yet. The scene shifts to the red portal, where groups of students are confused about the lack of monsters with 2 days remaining in the exam. A bald student explains to his group that after leveling up and moving to the inner area, they found nothing but scorch marks on the ground. They decide to wait for Wu Shaoqi's group, who went out to level up after recovering, expecting them to know what is going on. Yahello and Mishu emerge from the woods. Seeing our protagonist, Wu Shaoqi's group members recoil in fear, deciding to stay away from the terrifying pair. Yahello approaches Teacher Zheng and a female official near the red portal. Teacher Zheng asks if the young mage is certain about leaving 48 hours before the secret realm closes. When our boy confirms his decision, the teacher signals the official to record the level. The official asks to view the status, which reveals that Yahello is now a level 25 forbidden spellcaster. He flashes a casual peace sign, confirming the number. The crowd erupts into a frenzy of whispers due to the rapid progress. Teacher Zheng breaks out in a sweat, shocked that the student has leveled up 7 times in just a few days. A student in the crowd wonders if he misheard the level, while another realizes that Yahello was only level 18 when he entered the secret realm. They deduce that the protagonist must have hunted down all the monsters in the inner area. The young mage asks Teacher Zheng if he can leave now. However, the teacher explains that as the likely national top scorer, he must remain until the secret realm closes to claim his reward. This convinces the protagonist to stay. In the background, Wu Shaoqi emerges from the crowd looking disheveled and frantic. A dreadlocked student reports to him that the young mage wiped out all the monsters and reached level 25. Upon hearing this, Wu Shaoqi flies into a rage over his wasted effort, catching a golden treasure toad with nothing inside its stomach. Mishu mocks the group, pointing out that they entered at level 22 and are leaving at the same level. Fuming with jealousy, Wu Shaoqi insults Yahello as a short-lived forbidden spellcaster who snatched all the monsters. Yining Ning chimes in, claiming that such a class will die before reaching the age of 25, and questioning why the academy cultivates them when they only harm the future of Daxia. Furious at their attitude, Mishu snaps back, telling them that their failure to kill monsters is simply a skill issue. The argument is cut short when the ground shakes violently. Yahello looks up at the sky, wondering what is happening, while the ground continues to rumble. Students across the encampment collapse in pain, clutching their heads as the sky turns a dark red. They point out that the exit portal is beginning to dematerialize, trapping them inside. A titanic pillar of red light shoots up from the earth, connecting to a dark vortex as a deep voice issues a dark threat to the humans. Countless winged demonic creatures swarm out of the vortex. Watching the terrifying sight, our hero wonders what is going on. Teacher Zung is horrified, recognizing the intruders as the demon kind and realizing that a demon incursion within the top scorer's secret realm is an unprecedented catastrophe. He leaps into the air with his trident, ordering the demons to halt. Suddenly, a demonic portal opens, and a demon commander with long purple hair emerges in a dark outfit. He scoffs at the humans, viewing them as food for holding his kind slaves, and warns the humans that they are courting death. Teacher Zung stands defensively in front of the students, urging them to stay calm and hoping that Shencheng has noticed the abnormality to send help. Suddenly, a massive rock demon lunges at Teacher Zung, who deflects the blow with his weapon. The demon commander tells his subordinate, Luda, to handle the human, and the subordinate lunges toward the students. Teacher Zung tries to intercept, but the commander claims she is only playing with them. The demon commander addresses the group, pointing out that he is level 20 according to the human leveling system. He offers them a chance to fight, promising to let them go if they win. Encouraged by his level, Wu Shaoqi and the other students regain their courage and prepare their weapons to fight to the death. Stepping forward, the top scorer from Kao City, a level 21 god knight named Lin Zian, accepts the challenge. Confident that a level 21 fighter holds the advantage over a level 20 demon, the crowd cheers him on. Unfortunately, the encounter ends in an instant. With a wave of his clawed finger, the demon commander strikes a red slash across Lin Zian's neck, sending him flying backward while spraying blood from his mouth. Rushing forward, our hero catches the fallen god knight mid-air and lays him gently on the floor. Unbothered by the intervention, the demon commander mocks the defeated youth's weakness before turning his attention to the cowering crowd, calling humanity a race of cowards. Feeling the pressure, the students turn their frustration toward Yelin. They demand that he step up, arguing that because he is the strongest one here and killed all the monsters in the secret realm, it is his responsibility to fight. Mishue angrily shouts at the crowd for their hypocrisy, pointing out that they mocked the young mage just moments before. Conversely, Wu Shaoqi blames our protagonist for their inability to level up and for the demon's sudden appearance. In response, the young mage states that he is willing to fight, but only if they compensate him with high-grade equipment. Wu Shaoqi complains about the excessive demand, but Yelin points his sword, forcing the group to hand over a pile of weapons which are given to Mi Shui for safekeeping. Amused by the internal conflict, the demon commander watches the trade. Yelin simply remarks that there is always a rotten apple that disrupts his peace, and steps forward to face the demon. Facing his opponent, our protagonist charges a sphere of orange fire and casts a basic fireball. The students watch in total confusion, wondering why the young mage is using a low-level spell against such a powerful enemy. Following the blast, Yelin leaps high into the air with his sword drawn. The demon commander laughs at the attack and catches the slash with his bare hand, calling the action whimsical. Smirking behind his glasses, Yelin triggers a colossal explosion that towers over the clearing. Caught off guard, the demon commander finds himself engulfed in a massive vortex of flames. Seeing this, the students cheer, assuming the battle is won. However, the young mage's expression remains serious. Unfortunately, the flames begin to shrink and twist, getting absorbed into the hand of the demon. The demon commander steps out completely uninjured, glowing with particles as his health regenerates. Pleased by the display, the demon offers to make the young mage his dog in exchange for endless honor. Unfazed, Yelin retorts by offering to make the demon his son and casts an illumination spell. The demon commander lunges forward with a dark shadow trailing behind him, pushing our hero back and interrupting the cast. Relying on his agility, the young mage activates the sudden dance technique to escape. Sharp ice shards erupt from the ground in his wake, but the exchange results in a sequence of high-speed clashes where the heavy punches of the enemy force Yelin to wince. Retreating across the clearing, the swordmaster leaves a jagged trail of ice spikes. Watching the retreat, the students despair, wondering why the forbidden spellcaster is only dodging, while the debilitating effects of the area begin to crack their lips and fingers. The demon commander mocks the human's defense, but our hero reveals multiple golden rings materializing in the air around him. Explaining that it is just an ordinary illumination spell, the young shouts the command to explode. A massive vortex of fire erupts from the rings, completely engulfing the central area. The demon commander manages to shield himself within a dark orb, emerging unscathed and confidently asserting that the blast cannot hurt him. Unfortunately for the demon, Yelin is already prepared on a stone platform high above. He summons the forbidden spell, Eternal Thunder, which manifests as a gargantuan flame spear. The young mage points his hand downward, ordering the spear to pierce its target. The attack strikes the demon commander directly in the chest, causing blood to splatter as the demon gasps in pain. Despite being impaled, the demon commander grips the spear with a clawed hand, his expression twisting into pure rage. Vowing to kill our protagonist, he lunges forward across the dark, rocky terrain like a bolt. Within moments, the demon commander appears directly above Yahello, casting a massive shadow as he threatens to sever the youth's head. Crouching amidst the smoke, our hero prepares a counterattack. He grips his flame staff and activates the forbidden spell, Burning Karma. Counting on the staff's 50% fire elemental amplification and the status enhancement from the spell, the hero wonders if the demon can withstand the incoming attack before unleashing his power. A colossal column of flame erupts, dwarfing everything in the vicinity. Due to the sheer heat, the sparks refuse to disappear, swirling into a massive fire tornado that incinerates the surrounding area. The onlooking students watch in awe and celebrate, assuming the fight is over. As the smoke clears, the demon commander lies defeated in a smoldering crater. He expresses disbelief that a mere human could possess such strength. After seeing its boss defeated, the demon Luda glares toward the young mage and threatens to tear him to pieces for hurting his master. Luda lunges forward with murderous intent. Sensing the overwhelming power of the enemy, who is well over level 100, Yahello realizes he cannot defeat the creature who is actually above 100 levels. Luckily, a massive red blade strikes right in front of Luda, halting the advance. A rift in the air opens, and a man with long silver hair appears. Zheng Tianqi recognizes the arrival as He Yunfeng, the city lord of Shencheng, who greets the group with high spirits. Since the demon dared to sneak into human territory, the city lord declares that the intruder will not leave. He Yunfeng extends his hand and summons a massive golden star sigil, which rains beams of golden energy down onto the battlefield and pins the remaining minor demons to the ground. Seeing the overwhelming strength of the city lord, Luda decides it is time to flee and helps the wounded Gallagher. Before escaping, the demon commander glares at Yahello, promising to remember his name and take his head in the future. The demons vanish into a red portal in space. He Yunfeng watches the rift close while calmly smoking his cigarette. Refusing to let the enemy escape, the city lord fires a massive arrow straight into the closing portal. Inside the rift, Luda looks back in terror as Gallagher gasps at the incoming attack. However, a giant demonic hand reaches out from the darkness of the rift and blocks the strike, sending a massive shockwave across the area. Gallagher retorts, telling the humans not to get so cocky, while the students feel the immense pressure radiating from the clash. He Yunfeng mocks the retreating demon commander, noting that his kind is only skilled at running away. Gallagher retorts from the safety, challenging the humans to enter the demon realm if they have the courage before his smoke trails fully dissipate. Since the threat has passed, the city lord addresses the gathered survivors and vows that one day the warriors of Daxia will invade the demon realm to wipe out their species entirely. Once he lands on the ground, he takes full responsibility for the security breach that allowed the demons to infiltrate the secret realm. He offers a formal apology to all the top scorers for the danger they faced. In response to his humble stance, the students urge him not to blame himself and instead direct their anger toward the despicable nature of the demons. As a result of the portal being restored, He Yunfeng instructs the exhausted examinees to return to their hotels and rest, while the official results are finalized. Examiners begin counting the students as they exit the portal in an orderly fashion. Many of the young mages are visibly shaken, expressing an urgent need to contact their families after such a life-threatening experience. Misha walks alongside Yahello and remarks that the ordeal is finally over. Later that night, our boy lies flat on his back in his hotel room and reflects on how hazardous the secret realm turned out to be. A sudden knock at the door interrupts his rest, and he initially assumes it is Mi Shui coming to the wrong room again. However, when he opens the door, he is surprised to find City Lord He Yunfeng standing in the hallway. The City Lord explains that he has come specifically to check on the condition of the young mage after the battle. Yahello tries to remain humble and claims his injuries are almost fully healed, but He Yunfeng is impressed that the guy survived a head-on clash with a royal blood demon. Recognizing such potential and modesty in the youth, the City Lord offers him a position to serve the city of Shencheng. He explains that even though cultivating a forbidden spellcaster is usually seen as a waste of resources, the city needs a powerful deterrent against the rising demon threat. Our protagonist realizes this is a great opportunity for cultivation, but explains that he must first seek permission from his master, Zhuge Qianxing. He Yunfeng laughs at the mention of the famous astrologer and agrees to visit Qingcheng to settle the matter personally. Their meeting is interrupted by another knock at the door, and a maid with cat ears enters to deliver a fruit tray. As she sets the tray down, Yahello notices a strange smell and grows suspicious. Prompted by his quick reflexes, the City Lord realizes the maid is actually an assassin and shouts a warning as she lunges at our hero with a dagger. He Yunfeng acts instantly and catches the assassin's wrist, pinning her firmly. He is shocked to discover she is a level 50 assassin and demands to know who sent her. When the city lord kicks her to the ground to force a confession, the girl realizes she cannot escape and chooses to plunge the dagger into her own chest instead. With the poison killing her instantly, the city lord concludes that the people behind the hit must be incredibly powerful to force a level 50 combatant into suicide. Yaelin looks at the lifeless body and wonders if the Wu family is responsible for the attempt on his life. He Yunfeng promises a thorough investigation and vows to make Wu Shaoqi apologize for this crossing of the line. Fearing for his safety, our protagonist jokingly suggests he might not survive a month if he stays in Shenzhen and turns down the earlier recruitment offer. The city lord leaves to begin his investigation, but more knocking begins immediately after his departure. Mishu bursts into the room with her phone and excitedly announces that Yaelin has officially been named the nation's top scorer. She claims he has brought honor to his family, though our boy quietly reminds her that he is an orphan. To celebrate their achievement, she insists on taking a selfie with him. However, when she looks at the photo, she is horrified to see the dead body of the assassin in the background. Yaelin remains perfectly calm and asks her to help call someone to clean up the room. As she begins to panic and imagine the worst, he quickly explains that the woman was an assassin sent by Wu Shaoqi. This revelation sends Mishui into a protective rage, and she immediately tries to drag him out to find the bully and teach him a final lesson. Meanwhile, inside a luxury penthouse, Wu Shaoqi berates his subordinate for hiring an incompetent assassin. This rage is cut short when his father enters, lecturing him on his clumsy methods rather than the feud itself. Dismissing his son's excuses regarding the city lord's presence, the patriarch orders Wu Shaoqi to pack his things and offer a formal apology to protect the family's standing. The scene shifts to the city lord's office where He Yunfeng stands before Yaelin. He congratulates him for securing the top spot in the secret realm and prepares to award the prizes. Our boy looks at the rewards with a focused expression, noting a legendary skill scroll and a small black case. While he initially hoped for cash, the young mage realizes these are incredible rewards, especially since the only things higher are forbidden spells and god-grade gear. He thanks the city lord and opens the case to find a ring. A digital interface reveals this to be the legendary Great Sumeru ring, which provides a massive 100% boost to psychic power. As the young mage wears the ring, He Yunfeng explains that the item doubles his mental strength and provides a specialized storage space. Yaelin notes that the ring can also absorb and convert energy-type attacks. This leads him to realize that if he is ever swarmed by mages, he can simply absorb their magic and retaliate with his own forbidden spells. Given his undying body, our hero concludes that he will only get stronger the more he is attacked. He thanks the city lord once more and promises to keep improving. He Yunfeng acknowledges the sentiment and mentions that they will discuss his future employment with Shenzhen later. To conclude their business, the city lord prepares to send him back home using a portal. At the Qingcheng teleportation square, a massive traditional archway stands ready in the middle of the city. The portal opens, and the young mage leaps through it feeling exhausted. The waiting crowd erupts in cheers at his arrival. As he skids to a halt, Principal Gao and City Lord Hu Wing run toward him with broad smiles. The principal proudly announces the return of the nation's top scorer, while Hu Weng tries to touch him in hopes of catching some of his luck. This physical attention makes the protagonist visibly uncomfortable, causing him hold up a hand to create some space. Unfortunately, a massive wave of citizens rushes toward the platform. Principal Gao tries to hold them back, but fans and students reach out with phones and signatures, shouting for photos and hugs. Yaelin begins to sweat under the stress of such intense enthusiasm. To save him, Principal Gao grabs Yaelin by the wrist and begins sprinting away, dragging him through the square. While the boy just wants to go home and rest, the principal explains that they are heading toward a meeting with Mr. Zhu Ge. In a quiet garden, Zhu Ge Qianxing remarks that fame can be a burden, and notes that being a national top scorer clearly isn't easy. The two sit by a lily pond where Yaelin admits the difficulty but acknowledges that the rewards were worth it. His master tells him to rest well as there are more important matters on the horizon. This captures the interest of the young mage, who asks for clarification. His master's expression turns solemn as he reveals that the Gate of Apocalypse has appeared. Our protagonist is shocked since he knows that is the place where the 7 ancient origin artifacts once surfaced. When he asks if he is being sent there, his master clarifies that they will be going together. Yaelin agrees but mentions he needs to visit the Job Changer Guild first to handle some equipment. Once he leaves, the master is left alone and suddenly doubles over with a heavy cough. He looks down at blood on the stone floor, feeling weary. He worries that his student might not fully trust him yet, but he realizes he must try anyway since his own time is running out. Later, our boy walks into the atrium of the Job Changer Guild. With so many people recognizing him now, he decides it is safer to use the illusion mask. He applies the item and transforms into a young man with purple hair. A receptionist leads the disguised protagonist down a corridor. Suddenly, he spots a woman with long red hair and a high-collared dress. It is Zhuge. He hopes that his disguise will prevent her from recognizing him and continues walking past. However, Zhuge stops and watches his back with a suspicious look. She feels a sense of familiarity that she cannot ignore. This feeling causes her to have a sudden realization, and she begins running after the stranger. In her mind, she sees images of the masked hero, Ling Ye. She becomes convinced that this person must be the savior she has been searching for. She reaches out and grabs our hero's arm, stopping him mid-stride. Yahello turns his head with feigned confusion, privately wondering how she could possibly recognize him through the mask. Zhuge looks into his eyes with a soft and hopeful expression. She mentions that he looks exactly like the person who saved her before and asks for his name. Yahello insists that she has mistaken him for someone else. However, she is not convinced as she vividly remembers the cold expression he wore when he saved her in the past. To get a better look at his face, she pushes his arm and demands that he admit his true identity. This public confrontation forces the young mage to look toward receptionist for help. Recognizing the disruption, the receptionist warns Zhuge to stop disturbing the order of the trading area, or she will be forced to leave. Following this warning, the young woman looks away in frustration and promises not to cause any more trouble. As the interaction unfolds, two bystanders watch from behind and gossip about the situation. One wonders how an ordinary-looking guy could catch the interest of such a beautiful goddess. His companion assumes it must be due to the guy being incredibly rich, as that would explain his indifference to her beauty. Our protagonist eventually ignores the crowd and moves to a counter, informing the staff that he wants to sell a massive collection of equipment. Suddenly, a huge pile of weapons and items falls onto the counter, causing the onlookers to gasp in shock. Zhuge is stunned by the sheer amount of loot, while the bystanders realize that the guy must have slaughtered a massive number of monsters to gain such wealth. The receptionist asks if he wants to trade the items for gold coins, but Yahello explains that he wants to exchange them for other equipment instead. She presents a tablet displaying the Yaomang necklace, and the young mage points to it as his choice. Unfortunately, the receptionist informs him that the trade requires an additional payment of 3 million. To cover the cost, Yahello pulls a dragon-scale gold ore out of his sleeve and presents it to her. The sight of the rare material leaves the receptionist and the surrounding crowd in a state of total shock. The bystanders realize that owning such an ore would change their lives, while Zhuge becomes even more convinced of his greatness. The commotion draws the attention of Chen Kai, the vice president of the guild, who arrives and tells his staff to remain calm. After being identified as a level 60 expert, Chen Kai inspects the floating ore and asks what the youth wants in return. Yahello requests a large quantity of refining stones. This is a strategic move since refining stones can upgrade rare equipment to rival epic-grade gear. Chen Kai initially offers 800 pieces, but our hero negotiates for 1,000 by promising to be a loyal customer. The vice president agrees to the deal as a friendly gesture and orders his assistant to fetch the stones from the warehouse. Once the initial trade is settled, Yahello reveals that he has one final item to offer. He pulls out a golden scroll that pulses with energy. The crowd screams in panic upon realizing it is a legendary skill scroll, an item so rare that it is almost impossible to find in Qingcheng. Chen Kai loses his composure and screams for the president to arrive immediately. The elderly president Wang Lichuan appears and tells his subordinate to stay calm. After confirming the authenticity of the scroll, the president asks what the boy wants in exchange. The young mage explains that he wants to trade the legendary scroll for every normal skill scroll inside the guild. This logic is based on his ultimate sublimation talent, which makes legendary scrolls redundant, given that he can simply upgrade thousands of ordinary ones into forbidden spells. This unusual request leaves the staff and Chen Kai completely bewildered. Zhuge rushes over to the young mage and pleads with him to reconsider, explaining that legendary scrolls are priceless while ordinary ones are cheap. She even offers him her own money to stop him from making a bad deal. Our hero dismisses her offer and confirms to President Wang that he is sure about the trade. Pleased with the deal, the president orders Chen Kai to empty the warehouse of every ordinary skill scroll for the youth. To show his appreciation, President Wang hands Yahello a red VIP membership card, granting him the highest level of status and a significant discount for future shopping. The young mage thanks the president and begins to walk out of the guild. Watching him leave, Chen Kai asks if they should provide secret protection for him, but the president declines, reasoning that anyone carrying such treasures must be powerful enough to handle themselves. As the sun sets over the city, our protagonist walks through the crowded streets and finds Zhuge waiting for him at a crosswalk. She passionately urges him to come home with her so she can prove that he is the real hero and not the shameless Yahello. Our protagonist maintains his calm facade and insists once again that he is not Ling Ye. Zhuge grabs his wrist, refusing to believe him since his wealth and items far exceed anything she expects from Yahello. She threatens to take him to investigator Huang to settle the matter. As involving the investigators would be too troublesome for his secret identity, the young mage finally relents and agrees to go home with her. Zhuge returns to the mansion under a full moon, bringing the disguised Ye Lin with her to confront her father. Convinced that the heroic Ling Ye and the cowardly Ye Lin are different people, she excitedly presents the purple-haired youth as the man her father should actually take as a disciple. Zhu Qianxing observes the disguise with a neutral expression, prompting the young woman to suggest that he kick out the regular Ye Lin in favor of the newcomer. Recognizing the need for a private discussion, the master asks his daughter for a moment alone with the guest. This allows Zhugani to head upstairs to change her clothes, hoping to impress the man she believes is her savior. Once the room is clear, our hero questions why the master is not revealing the truth to his daughter. As the rain begins to pour over the balcony, the atmosphere turns somber, and Zhuge Qianxing admits that maintaining the secret identity might actually be beneficial. The master reveals a new plan to have the young mage enter the Gate of Apocalypse, specifically as Ling Ye. This strategy ensures that the official persona of Ye Lin remains completely unassociated with the dangerous mission, allowing the protagonist to use his full power without restraint. Although our guy agrees to the arrangement, he remains suspicious of the astrologer's ultimate motives and resolves to keep a close watch on his teacher. Zhuge Qianxing concludes the meeting by promising to handle his daughter's expectations before they set off in 2 days. In preparation for the unknown dangers ahead, Ye Lin retreats to a dark room to refine his legendary equipment. Knowing he must be wary of everyone, he uses a huge pile of refining stones to upgrade the Great Sumeru Ring. A successful first-star refinement immediately boosts his mental power amplification by 20%, making the item significantly more potent. Despite this early success, he suffers through a frustrating series of 8 consecutive failures. This lack of luck forces the young mage to throw hundreds of stones into the air in a desperate attempt to succeed. After exhausting nearly 1,000 stones, a sudden burst of energy finally triggers a 3-star refinement. The ring now provides a big 160% mental power boost, leaving the young mage ecstatic about his terrifying new strength. As the departure date approaches, our protagonist encounters Zhugani in the hallway while in his true form. Believing the real Ling Ye is now present in the house, she treats him with extreme annoyance and labels him a scoundrel. She mocks him for being a fake, and demands that he leave the premises immediately since he has supposedly been replaced. Ye Lin simply brushes off her insults and informs her that he is leaving after packing his belongings. He walks away while she yells at his back, completely unaware that the man she just insulted is the same person she is currently obsessed with. Our protagonist travels to the Ji family villa to meet with his loyal follower, Ling Yu. With the best priests in the city employed for his recovery, Ling Yu is fully healed and greets his boss with immense enthusiasm. Ye Lin brings his follower aside for a serious conversation, whispering a plan to intentionally ruin his own reputation. He instructs Ling Yu to spread specific rumors about the national top scorer falling into a life of luxury and excess. As a result, news reports soon circulate showing Ye Lin at high-end clubs, leading the public to believe he has given up on his future. Students gossip that his short lifespan has forced him into a state of hopelessness, and even Zhugani looks at the news with disappointment, believing he has truly lost his way. With the public eye successfully diverted away from his true self, the disguised Ye Lin prepares to leave the mansion with Zhuge Qianxing. As they walk through the living room, the shy and blushing Zhugani approaches the purple-haired youth. She is unable to look him in the eye and nervously asks if she can invite him to a movie upon his return. Our hero gives a non-committal answer, telling her they will discuss it later as he and the master depart for the wilderness. As they drive through the forest, Zhuge Qianxing explains that they are bypassing the standard teleportation portals since the Gate of Apocalypse is located directly within the wilderness of Qingqing. He further advises the youth to refer to him only as Mr. Zhuge to avoid any accidental exposure of their true relationship during the mission. The story continues as a black luxury car pulls up to a desolate rock formation. Our boy steps out of the vehicle and immediately notices a massive rift of blue energy pulsing between the stones. Seeing the Gate of Apocalypse for the first time, the young mage is struck by its sheer scale. Zhuge Qianxing acknowledges the intimidating sight before they are greeted by Tan Qingzheng, the deputy director of the Qingcheng Investigation Bureau. Director Tan has been waiting anxiously for their arrival as time is tight and the mission is critical. To initiate the process, the master hands a golden key to the director. While the group prepares to proceed, Ye Lin feels a sudden chill down his back. Zhuge Qianxing quietly reveals that he has tricked the director with a fake key. This deception creates a dangerous situation, as the director would likely kill them if he discovered the ruse. Despite the risk, the master instructs our hero to stay close to the barrier rather than using the real key just yet. As Ye Lin approaches the energy field and raises his hand, the rift surges with sudden power. It expands into a swirling vortex, confirming that the legendary gate is finally open. Director Tan is visibly shocked to see the entrance to the place where the 7 ancient artifacts once fell. In the excitement, he demands the return of the ancient key, and the master plays along to keep the peace. However, the situation becomes complicated when new figures emerge from the darkness. It turns out that the Job Change Guild has arrived, led by President Wang Lichuan. Director Tan is annoyed that President Wang wants a share of the treasures without doing any of the work. Since the Gate of Apocalypse is notoriously dangerous, the director decides to let the guild members scout ahead so they can face the initial risks. President Wang happily accepts this arrangement and leads his team into the portal. Our hero, still disguised as Ling Ye, follows closely behind with his master. They run through a dark, hazy energy tunnel and suddenly emerge into a bright, desolate landscape that looks exactly like a ruined version of Qingcheng. The group stands on a cliff looking down at the skeletal remains of a city they once knew. Everything is dilapidated and crumbling, which leads the explorers to wonder if they are trapped in an illusion or a dark vision of the future. As they begin walking through the silent, empty streets, the lack of life becomes unsettling. There isn't a single person or creature in sight. During the search, Zhuge Qianxing kneels to inspect a golden fragment on the ground. He explains that while it is a piece of a divine artifact, it has unfortunately lost all of its value. With nothing but concrete ruins present and no immediate signs of danger or opportunity, the leaders grow frustrated. They decide to split up and search different areas to cover more ground. The master suggests that with the area being so quiet, they can simply shout for help if they encounter trouble. Under his hood, our boy reveals a dark smile. He knows that the game of hidden agendas is finally starting, and that he cannot truly trust anyone, including his master. He decides to follow the guidance of the ancient key to find the slums. Needing to move quickly and covertly, he prepares to use an underground escape technique. Luckily, his professional talent activates and upgrades the basic earth skill into a forbidden spell called Spatial Leap. By sacrificing his internal organs, the young mage transforms into a spiral of liquid gold energy. This allows him to move across space while becoming immune to most physical and energy attacks. He vanishes from the ruins and materializes inside a dilapidated room that looks exactly like his old home. As he turns his back, massive tentacles burst out behind him. A terrifying guardian, appearing as a giant brain-like organ suspended by green tentacles, addresses him by name. The entity reveals it has been waiting for him for many years. Now that Yelin has finally arrived, the Guardian explains that it is time to return the origin ancient artifact, known as the Eternal Scale, to its rightful owner. It is revealed to be the true source of his infinite regeneration. As Yelin holds the artifact in a state of shock, a dark silhouette suddenly looms behind him. It is Zhuge Qianxing standing with a sinister face. The master reveals that he knew the boy would eventually find this hidden sanctuary, and he immediately begins to show his true colors. Determined to claim the artifact for himself, the astrologer forms a concentrated orb of energy at his fingertips. This sudden aggression forces our protagonist to move away quickly, but Zhuge Qianxing is faster. He points a magic spell directly at his disciple, demanding the item and striking Yelin in the side. In consequence, the boy is left slumped on the floor, clutching a bleeding wound and realizing that he has been used as a pawn from the very beginning. Luckily, the Guardian intervenes to protect the rightful owner. As Zhuge Qianxing coughs up blood, showing that his own life is indeed fading, the fleshy entity warns Yelin to take the scale and run. The Guardian explains the terrifying logic of the artifact. It possesses the power of equivalent exchange. With the master dying, he intends to use the Eternal Scale to strip away the young mage's immortality and transfer it to his own failing body. Our hero looks back in anger, finally understanding the predatory nature of his teacher, but the astrologer simply tells him he talks too much. A massive energy streaks across the ruined city, incinerating everything in its path as the Guardian's voice urges a retreat. Our protagonist finds himself trapped in a dark room, only to see Zhuge Qianxing standing in the center, engulfed in a menacing aura of blue flames. Realizing he has no choice but to fight, Yelin launches a massive orb of fire. Unfortunately, the master dispels the forbidden spell with a single hand. He mocks the level 25 youth, pointing out that even an immortal body is useless in the face of absolute strength. Refusing to give up, our boy triggers a violent tornado from his body, shattering the ground in a desperate attempt to counterattack. However, the astrologer remains unbothered amidst the vortex. He activates a powerful technique called Celestial Body Incineration, manifesting a structure that allows him to snatch the Eternal Scale directly from our hero's grasp. The master mocks Yelin for using such basic skills against an expert of his caliber. As the young mage struggles to breathe, the master finally explains the depth of his desperation. Having performed too many divinations, he received a divine punishment that is rapidly draining his life. He views Yelin as a tool that successfully helped him find the cure for his impending death. Our boy finds himself pinned by an invisible binding force, unable to move while his sanctimonious teacher initiates a sacred ritual. Zhuge Qianxing holds the scale as energy begins to arc from Yelin's forehead. Our boy lets out a silent scream, his eyes turning white as he feels his soul being drained away. Strangely, the master suddenly breaks out in a sweat, noticing something unexpected about the scale. It turns out that half of the Eternal Scale has always been fused inside Yelin's body. The master realizes that this artifact, the strongest of the origin ancient artifacts, infinitely amplifies the balance between immortality and invincibility. Furthermore, It allows for a defiant equivalent exchange between two parties regardless of their status, as long as there is an agreement. The ritual intensifies with both men screaming in agony. Just as the pain reaches its peak, Yahello finds himself standing free, panting for air. He looks down at his palm, realizing he is somehow still alive. He turns to see Zhuge Qianxing slumped against a rock, looking aged and physically drained. Despite the betrayal and the terrifying ritual, the master looks at the boy and weakly declares that he has succeeded. Yahello stares in disbelief as red markings appear across his forehead. He feels his regeneration ability returning with even more intensity than before, leaving him puzzled as to why his teacher didn't actually steal his immortality during the ritual. Confused by this turn of events, he stands over the bloodied Zhuge Qianxing and demands to know the reason for this mercy. The master merely coughs up blood and looks at his student with weary eyes, asking why he still refuses to call him teacher despite everything. This question hits home, forcing our hero to soften his expression and realize that he never truly understood the man's heart. The dying master explains that while he was indeed plotting against Yahello, his goal wasn't personal greed, but rather the preservation of humanity. He reveals a dark vision of the future where his daughter, Zhuge Ni, dies at a specific moment in time regardless of the path she takes. Due to this fixed point in fate, the master concludes that all of human civilization is destined for total destruction. He tells the boy that among all people, only Yahello's future remains invisible to astrology. Consequently, the young mage is the only variable capable of surviving and changing the catastrophic ending of the world. To help him on this mission, Zhuge Qianxing hands over a small satchel containing vital information about the coming threats. He warns the boy that the entity they met earlier wasn't a guardian at all, but a fragment of the demon race's butterfly emperor seeking the other half of the eternal scale. With his final breath, the master begs Yahello to protect Zhuge Ni. The student supports his teacher's head and promises to fulfill the request, watching as the old man passes away with a look of peace. Feeling guilty for ever doubting the man's intentions, the young mage bows respectfully to see his master off. Unfortunately, the somber moment is interrupted when Director Tan and the rest of the group arrive. Seeing the corpse, they immediately accuse Yahello of murder and greed. Director Tan shows his true nature by ordering his men to seize the body, believing it holds hidden treasures. This disrespect fuels a cold rage in our boy's eyes. As a bald subordinate leaps forward to attack, wooden roots burst from the ground and trap the man in midair. With the attacker having disturbed his teacher's peace, Yahello prepares to show no mercy. Wang Lichuan and Director Tan watch in horror as the young mage begins to absorb energy directly from his victim. This process triggers a system notification revealing that the eternal balance has been repaired, but now tilts toward the dark side. Instead of a fair exchange, the artifact now allows our hero to devour his enemies to increase his own lifespan. This newfound power allows him to gain years of life while gaining experience points from the level 42 job changer. Director Tan grows even more desperate. Assuming Yahello has obtained an ancient origin artifact, he sends a full squad forward to kill the boy and seize the item. Our protagonist simply watches their approach, confident that they lack the strength to stop him. When the squad attacks, the young mage vanishes instantly, using a speed that far exceeds a standard Earth escape technique. He then erupts from the ground like a massive drill, blowing the entire squad back with a mixture of wood, fire, and earth magic. While the guild president watches from the sidelines, thankful he didn't join the fight, Yahello materializes to settle an old debt. He remembers the pain he suffered back at the investigation bureau and decides it is time for the director to pay for his cruelty. Our hero gathers a massive sphere of water and summons a blue trident as he prepares his next move. By sacrificing both of his kidneys, the young mage activates a forbidden spell called the Wrath of the Sea God, increasing his destructive power by 200%. This unleashes a massive burst of energy that obliterates the director's subordinate instantly. This display of power infuriates Director Tan, who summons a spectral bow and identifies himself as a level 62 holy bow hunter. Scolding his remaining men for being useless, the director orders an all-out assault. Under this command, multiple energy projectiles rain down on the young mage from every direction. Luckily, Yahello is prepared to use his legendary equipment. He activates the Great Sumeru Ring, utilizing the Sumeru Seed ability to suck the incoming energy into a vortex. This process converts the enemy attacks into a temporary psychic power boost for the young mage. Recognizing that he has been forced into a massacre, our hero focuses his power through his red eye and summons a colossal fire. This forbidden spell, known as the World-Devouring Heavenly Fire, erupts across the city skyline and incinerates the attackers in a single heartbeat. Strangely, Director Tan manages to survive the blast, though he is left panting in a scorched crater. Realizing he must handle the threat himself, the director draws a gargantuan arrow in his spectral bow. He unleashes his ultimate technique, the demon god's mother-son arrows, which streaks through the air with relentless speed. Despite the young mage's ability to move, the director mocks him, claiming the attack is impossible to dodge. The blue arrow strikes our boy directly, triggering a violent explosion. This impact is followed by black energy tendrils that impale the protagonist's position, causing him to scream in agony. Director Tan laughs manically as Yahello falls to all fours, gasping and bleeding. Assuming the battle is over, the director mocks him one last time before a final explosion reduces the young mage to a dark crater. Believing that even a controller of the eternal scales cannot recover from being blown into meat, Director Tan stands over the wreckage with satisfaction. However, a terrifying regeneration begins. From a severed arm lying in the debris, dark energy and flesh swirl together to rapidly reform Yehlin's entire body. The guy materializes directly behind the director, who turns in absolute shock. Before the hunter can react, a bolt of energy pierces through his chest from behind. The young mage stands over the fallen director, his shredded hoodie revealing raw flesh and bone that are already beginning to heal. When the director tries to use his status as a high-ranking official to threaten him, Yahello only responds with cold sarcasm. As Director Tan lunges for one last desperate attack, our hero catches him with another spell. The system confirms that the level 62 job changer has been devoured. This process provides the young mage with essential nutrients and, more importantly, a 2-year increase in his lifespan. Fueled by this massive influx of experience, he jumps from level 25 to level 28 and sees a significant boost in his primary attributes. With the battle settled, Yahello senses another presence and orders them to stop hiding. President Wang Lichuan steps out from the rubble, sweating and nervously pleading for his life. To ensure his survival, the chairman bows and pledges the total submission of the Job Changer Guild to the young mage's command. Our protagonist accepts this offer with a faint smile, establishing a new alliance in the wreckage. While Chairman Wang urges a quick departure to avoid further trouble, Yahello insists he still has one final task to perform. He summons the Extreme Ice Spirit Coffin, a blue ice structure, to preserve the body of Zhuge Qianxing. Standing solemnly by the frozen coffin, he places a hand on his master's shoulder. With a gentle expression, he promises to finally take his teacher home before leading the way out of the ruins. Deep inside the Gate of Apocalypse, Wang Lichuan realizes his subordinates are in over their heads. With the exploration being beyond their current abilities, Yahello suggests they retreat and return only when they have the strength to handle the dangers. They reach the blue rift that serves as the entrance, but as they prepare to exit, the ground begins to shake violently. A massive red dragon head bursts from the earth, immediately unhinging its jaw to charge a concentrated orb of red energy. When the beast fires its high-velocity beam, our boy channels a wave of energy to counter the attack, resulting in a massive explosion of fire. He unleashes the Flame God's Sigh, a forbidden spell so powerful that it leaves Chairman Wang in total terror. As the monster's scorched remains lie motionless, a series of system notifications appear. Since Yahello devoured a level 34 monster, he gains a variety of nutrients and a trace of a rare dragon bloodline. This kill also increases his lifespan by over 400 years and boosts his core attributes. While the young mage feels the new power surging through his fist and wonders about the mysterious bloodline, black cracks of energy begin to warp the space around them. Realizing the entrance is about to collapse, the two survivors sprint toward the portal. Unfortunately, a powerful gravitational pull drags everything toward the center, causing the golden key to spin out of the hero's hand. As Yahello is pulled into the rift, the key falls back into the collapsing dimension. Moments later, the portal implodes with a flash, throwing Yahello and Chairman Wang onto the rocky ground outside. With the Gate of Apocalypse and the ancient key having both vanished, it is impossible to know when or where they might appear again. Our guy prepares to move on, hauling the heavy ice coffin containing his teacher. He bids farewell to Chairman Wang, explaining that he must prioritize burying his master, but promising to find the guild leader if problems arise. Shortly after, the young mage arrives at the Zhuge mansion. Upon seeing the ice coffin, Zhuge falls into a state of disbelief and demands to know the truth. The disguised Yahello bows his head in apology, admitting he failed to protect the astrologer. He shares that the teacher's final wish was to be buried alongside her mother, but the news is too much for the girl to accept. Zhuge collapses in agony, screaming for her father. When she eventually asks how he died, our hero explains that the master succumbed to divine punishment from performing too many divinations for the sake of the world. This explanation leads to a cold rejection, as the grieving girl orders him to get out and never return. Our protagonist respects her wish and leaves, though he offers his support if she ever needs it in the future. As the news of the missing officials and the astrologer's death spreads across the city skyline, citizens begin to gossip about the mysterious Ling Ye who carried the coffin. These rumors catch the attention of investigator Huang, who remains convinced that Yahello and Ling Ye are the same person. Lacking evidence to arrest a national top scorer, he decides to confront the boy personally to find the truth. The investigator tracks him to a nightclub, where he finds Yahello lounging on a sofa surrounded by women. He acts completely dismissive, even offering to put drinks for the investigators on his tab. When questioned about his whereabouts over the last week, the young mage claims he cannot remember his busy schedule. This prompts Huang to grab his wrist and demand to know if he was the one who disguised himself to follow Mr. Zhuge out of the city. Our hero remains calm and presents his smartphone, revealing that he is recording the conversation to sue for defamation. Luckily for him, the subordinate confirms there is no evidence of him leaving the city, as he has been documented at various entertainment venues throughout the week. Huang is forced to release him, vowing to find proof later. Before the investigator leaves, the young mage offers a piece of free information. He claims that he saw Ling Ye get blown into pieces with his own eyes. As our boy actually reformed his body from a severed limb during the fight, his statement registers as a factual truth. This revelation leaves investigator Huang frozen in complete bewilderment, wondering how his instincts could be so wrong. Yilin simply walks away, inviting the confused official to join him for a drink some other time. The day of a funeral arrives. Heavy rain pours over the grand arched gate of the temple building, where a somber crowd has gathered under black umbrellas. Inside the funeral hall, a portrait of Zhuge Qianxing sits framed by white flowers, overlooking a scene of deep mourning. Zhu Jini kneels before the coffin in total despair, her red hair disheveled as her weeping echoes through the room. Among the guests, whispers begin to circulate regarding the absence of the master's supposed star disciple. With the news of the astrologer's death followed by rumors of the national top scorer living a life of excess, the onlookers express their disgust at his apparent lack of respect. Strangely, Yelin appears at the entrance, his clothes soaked through by the storm as he gazes toward the altar. As he walks forward with a pained expression to admit his late arrival, the mood in the hall shifts from grief to hostility. Zhuzhni stands up immediately to confront him, refusing to accept his presence at the funeral. She tells the young mage that he is not welcome and orders him to leave the premises at once. When he tries to explain that he only wishes to see his teacher off on his last journey, her anger only intensifies. She declares that their master-disciple relationship was severed long ago and labels him a fraud who deceived the world. These harsh words cause the guests to whisper even more, assuming the young mage committed some unforgivable act to be expelled by such a respected man. The confrontation is interrupted by the sudden arrival of a group of men in black suits and masks emerging from the rain. Their leader, wearing a fedora and a charred mask, offers his condolences but quickly reveals a sinister intent. He claims that the master's death is suspicious and demands to open the coffin for an examination. Since this request is a blatant insult to the deceased, Zhugani spreads her arms to block their path, refusing to let them touch the casket. The masked leader grows impatient and orders his subordinates to move in by force. As they approach, the young woman erupts in a sea of scarlet flames, ordering the intruders to get lost before they desecrate the funeral. While the other guests shout in protest against such rude behavior, the situation turns violent. The masked men draw their blades and begin striking down the bystanders, causing blood to splatter across the hall. This sudden massacre sends the crowd into a panic, forcing the guests to flee the building while screaming for the police. Infuriated by the bloodshed, Zhugani launches a massive wave of fire toward the masked leader. However, the man remains completely unimpressed and dispels the flames with a single hand. The young woman trembles in realization that she is facing a level 50 job changer, but before she can react, the leader grabs her by the throat and lifts her into the air. He mocks her status and reiterates his demand to open the coffin while his men surround the body. Our hero, who has been standing quietly in the background, finally speaks up and tells them to stop. Before the leader can react, the young mage moves with incredible speed. He delivers a strike so powerful that it forces the leader to release Zhugani and tumbles him back. The masked leader clutches his mangled, bleeding arm in a fit of rage, realizing he has been severely injured. Yaelin stands protectively in front of the master's daughter, his face twisted in a demonic anger as he declares that they should all die. Looking to eliminate the threat, the masked leader orders his third brother to set up a barrier to trap the protagonist. A massive dark rectangular energy wall rises from the ground, isolating our hero with the assassins. To end the fight instantly, the young mage initiates a sacrifice of his liver to power his forbidden magic. He hovers in the air wreathed in intense electricity before summoning the forbidden spell, Eternal Thunder. A gargantuan bolt of lightning strikes, tearing through the masked subordinates and reducing them to wreckage. The leader stands alone amidst the corpses of his men, cursing the turn of events. Wreathed in energy and looking absolutely lethal, the young mage warns that anyone who offends his teacher's soul will be killed without mercy. He raises his hand toward the remaining assassins and unleashes a torrent of intense energy flames. The masked leader stands paralyzed as the fire consumes his squad, leaving only 2 subordinates alive by the time the spell dissipates. Taking a massive toll on his body, this magic leaves Yaelin panting heavily with sweat dripping from his face. This effort forced him to sacrifice one of his arms, which is now completely absent from his torso. Zhugni watches the scene from the background in a state of sorrow and disbelief. wondering if the young mage has actually lost his mind. The masked leader gestures toward the struggling protagonist with a mocking posture. He tells his remaining men not to be afraid, as even a strong forbidden spellcaster has limits, and the boy appears to be completely exhausted. Despite his fatigue, Yahello looks at the scoundrels with total determination. He questions if scoundrels like them are worth the life force he sacrificed just to save the day. Our protagonist lunges through the air to close the distance. Zhuzhni screams in terror for him to watch out just as the masked leader strikes violently. A weapon pierces through the neck area of the young mage, sending a spray of blood into the air. Yahello collapses to the ground while clutching his throat and coughing up blood. The three masked men stand over his fallen body with pure contempt, labeling him a dumbass and telling him to go to hell. Zhuzhni sits on the ground in shock with tears streaming down her face, feeling a strange emptiness at the sight of his death. The masked leader ignores her and orders his men to open the coffin to take away the body. Suddenly, a subordinate freezes in shock as the silhouette of Yahello stands up once more. Wreathed in a dark and rising aura, our guy tells them that they are actually the ones destined for hell. He stands tall while vibrant flames and energy surround him, signaling the activation of the forbidden spell Undying. The masked men recoil in absolute terror, wondering how he can still be alive, or if he is actually a devil. Zhuzhni looks up with wide eyes as she realizes the young mage survived the fatal blow. Yahello centers his energy and prepares his next attack, focusing his power through his red eye. He calls out the eyes of eternal freeze, prompting the masked men to scramble for an escape. Massive spikes of blue ice erupts and instantly encase the assassins in a frozen prison. Two bystanders watch the carnage from behind a wall, their faces pale with fear as they witness a forbidden spellcaster killing the level 50 job changers. Zhuzhni watches from her knees as the young mage walks toward her father's coffin. He places a hand on the wood and lifts the casket onto his back. As he moves toward the exit, the girl follows him with a dazed expression, feeling that his silhouette is strangely familiar. When she asks where he is taking her father, our hero explains that he intends to bury his teacher himself. The scene shifts to a high-rise office overlooking the city where the head of Z family named Zihong stands by a window. A subordinate in a cat mask enters to report that their agents have confirmed traces of the Gate of Apocalypse appearing in a valley east of Qingcheng. Zihong looks contemplative, wondering what Zhuge Qianxing accomplished inside the gate before losing his life. When the subordinate asks if they should retrieve the corpse, the man dismisses the idea to avoid making too much noise. Instead, he orders his people to spy on Yahello and Zhuge Ni, while also tasking them with finding the Job Changer Guild's president, Wang Li Chuan. Later at a cemetery, ritual paper money falls through the air like snow while Yahello stands in black mourning clothes. Zhuzhni approaches him from behind to offer her thanks for his actions. She holds out an envelope containing enough money to cure his eyes, stating that the Zhuge family refuses to owe him anything. Our protagonist looks away and declines the reciprocation, explaining that he only acted to repay his teacher. As he turns his back to walk away, the girl shouts for him to stay. Yahello retorts that she is far too opinionated, and notes that without her father's protection, she would simply be a useless person. Zhuzhni stands frozen as the painful realization hits her. She collapses to her knees in front of the grave while the young mage vanishes into the distance. Resting her hand on the gravestone of her father, she sobs and wonders if she truly is useless now that the man who always protected her is gone. Returning to the courtyard of the Ji family mansion at night, our boy is met by Ling Yu. Aware of the events at the cemetery, the follower immediately expresses deep concern for his boss. Ling Yu specifically notices a change in the protagonist's eyes, but Yahello dismisses the worry by claiming he is fine, despite his weary appearance. Uncle Ji then approaches the young mage with a somber proposal, suggesting that the life of a job changer is far too grueling and offering him a permanent place within the family instead. While our hero appreciates the kindness, he respectfully declines. He explains that since his remaining lifespan is limited, he wants to attend university and leave behind no regrets. Recognizing the resolve in the boy's gaze, the chairman offers his full support and promises that the Ji family will always stand behind him. Exhausted from the recent confrontations, Yahello retires to his room and collapses onto his bed. As he falls, a small purple pouch slips out. He is surprised to find this secret item left behind by his teacher and wonders why it revealed itself at this specific moment. Upon opening it, 2 dark skill scrolls float into the air. These scrolls contain the Phantom Technique and the Turtle Breath Technique. Realizing that his teacher likely predicted his unique ability to upgrade skills, the young mage activates his extreme sublimation talent. This process enhances the scrolls into the forbidden spells Great Void Technique and One Qi, transforming into 3 purities. Yahello meditates as he absorbs the new power. He discovers that the Great Void Technique allows him to become completely invisible by sacrificing a bone every minute, while the other spell allows him to create an identical clone at the cost of half his lifespan. Providing a way to bypass the constant surveillance on his life, these spells allow him to immediately create a clone of himself. He decides to leave this identical copy at the G family mansion to act as a decoy. This foolproof plan allows the real Yaelin to leap out of his window and into the city night, determined to uncover exactly who has been monitoring him. Our protagonist travels into the wilderness, having changed his appearance to a version with longer hair and no glasses to establish a new identity. Now free from prying eyes, he activates the Great Void technique and reflects on how his teacher truly predicted every necessity for his journey. He eventually reaches a city gate guarded by hooded figures who warn him about the frequency of monster attacks. After passing through the portal, he enters the dense forest with the goal of leveling up as quickly as possible. When a level 32 werewolf ambushes him from the shadows, the young mage decides to only use ice-type magic to keep his true identity hidden. He summons a giant ice spear that impales and freezes the beast solid. Being a forbidden mage, he watches as a dark vortex devours the remains, granting him 320 experience points and increasing his lifespan by 125 years. For the next 3 days, our hero moves through the wilderness like a force of nature, with a series of combat, freezing and devouring higher-level skeletons and beasts, with each kill adding centuries to his life. By the time he returns through a stone archway into the city, he has successfully reached level 30. Despite this rapid progress, the young mage feels he has reached a physical limit for hunting alone, and wonders if there is a more efficient way to gain power. He decides to visit the Job Changer Guild to test a new strategy. He notices the guild is still thriving despite the disappearance of its previous leader, and he approaches a clerk to post a special mission. Our protagonist meets with a male clerk and explains that he wants to post a task for recycling monster corpses. When asked about the price, he learns that the market rate for level 10 monsters is 300,000 each, while special specimens can cost up to 450,000. He instructs the clerk to follow these market prices and buy every monster corpse below level 20 available. Since the young mage looks like a newly changed enchanter, the clerk is initially suspicious and demands a verification of funds. This skepticism vanishes instantly when Yaelin places a top-tier lifetime SVIP card on the counter. 3 days later, the guild is a scene of total chaos as workers scramble to fulfill the massive recycling task. A group of older job changers watches the supply lines with deep frustration. Paying such high prices, Yaelin has effectively cornered the market on monster materials. The alchemists and blacksmiths complain that they can no longer buy supplies to practice their crafts, lamenting that this mysterious spendthrift is causing a massive shortage across the city. Inside a massive warehouse, thousands of monster carcasses are piled into mountains for inspection. The clerk addresses our disguised hero as Mr. Liu and invites him to check the latest batch. Once the clerk leaves and the doors are closed, Yaelin is left alone with the piles of remains. He realizes that using his wealth to buy experience is far more efficient than hunting in the forest. He raises his hand to open a massive energy rift. Standing at the center of a vortex, our protagonist begins to devour the mountain of corpses, watching as his experience points and lifespan scroll rapidly toward a new level of power. As the young mage departs from the Job Changer Guild while still maintaining his disguise, he is immediately targeted by a group of hidden watchers. These unknown figures observe his every move from a high vantage point to confirm his identity. With him wearing a gray hoodie over a black combat suit and having short hair, the scouts are certain they have found their man. Yaelin continues walking through an underpass but soon pauses as he senses he is being trailed. Even though he changed his face, he realizes that someone has managed to track him down anyway. Growing annoyed by the persistence of his stalkers, he calls out to the shadows, suggesting that they must be exhausted after following him for so long. In response to his taunt, 2 assassins emerge from the darkness. One is a swordsman with black hair, while his partner is a blonde woman brandishing a dagger. The woman identifies our protagonist as the person responsible for posting the massive monster corpse collection missions and informs him that someone has paid for his life. As both attackers lunge at him simultaneously, our guy showcases his superior reflexes by kicking the swordsman in the face while grabbing the woman's wrist to stop her blade. Seeking a peaceful resolution, Yaelin offers to double whatever amount they were promised. However, the blonde woman views his attempt at haggling as a sign of weakness, believing that his wealth will belong to them once he is dead. Her partner urges her to stop talking and finish the job quickly since their boss expects them to head to Secret Realm number 79 afterward. To end the confrontation, Yaelin suddenly unleashes a freezing spell. Jagged blue ice erupts from the ground, instantly trapping both assassins in mid-motion. The swordsman is shocked by the display, realizing too late that he is facing a forbidden spellcaster. The hero walks up to the frozen pair and demands to know who sent them. When the man hesitates, the young mage points a finger at his face, threatening to cast another spell. Terrified of being executed, the assassins confess that the masterminds are a group from the Life Skills Job Changer Alliance. As Yaelin's massive buy-up of monster corpses interfered with their business, senior forging masters and alchemists like Yixiang, Yun Ying, and Zhou Heping decided to eliminate him. Curious about their earlier conversation, our protagonist asks for details about Secret Realm number 79. The fearful swordsman explains that it recently appeared 30 kilometers north of Qingcheng. Once he has the information he needs, Yahello turns his back and prepares to leave. Despite the assassin's pleas that they will freeze to death, he simply tells them to see if they can survive until the ice melts before walking away. The scene transitions to a dark forest at night where a building stands behind a dark portal. A group of worried job changers discusses the fact that no one who entered the realm over the last 2 days has returned. Leaning against a nearby rock, Yahello observes the portal and decides it is safer to wait for someone to come out before risking his life in a potential death trap. Suddenly, a light erupts from the portal as an ornate scepter with a blue gemstone floats into view. The gathered crowd believes this is a legendary artifact and abandons all caution. Driven by greed, the job changers charge into the rift while arguing over who is capable enough to own such a treasure. Our protagonist remains on the sidelines, feeling that something is wrong. He reasons that if a true artifact were present, powerful masters would have already claimed it, rather than leaving it for low-level adventurers. A figure with long gray hair approaches the young mage and agrees that the situation feels suspicious. Yahello immediately points an accusing finger at the stranger, correctly identifying her as a woman in disguise. He points out that her heavy use of lip balm and her obvious figure make the male persona very unconvincing. Although she is embarrassed by her clumsy disguise, she admits her true purpose. She suspects that this secret realm is actually a trap set by demons to lure in human job changers, and asks the young mage to team up with her. Yahello initially declines the offer, preferring to avoid the high risk of a demon encounter. However, the woman offers to pay him with a piece of epic-grade equipment. This causes our hero to stop instantly and grab her hand, declaring that a deal is possible. As they walk together through the forest, the woman introduces herself as Xie Xiaoxiao and asks about his profession so she can provide a suitable reward. To keep his secrets, Yahello claims to be an ice-type mage who can use any equipment. Xiaoxiao happens to have a brown box containing a blue circlet known as the Heart of Ice Crystal. As the status window appears, Yahello is stunned to see that the legendary item provides a 60% boost to spirit power and contains a domain skill that doubles the power of all ice-type abilities. Xiaoxiao pressures him for a quick answer as she is terrified her mother will find her and force her back home. Looking at her skeptically, our boy wonders about her background and if she might be connected to a mysterious big shot given that she seems incredibly wealthy. He asks if she snuck out of the house, but Xiaoxiao dismisses the question and asks for his name and level since she can sense his power. Our protagonist maintains a calm expression and introduces himself as Ye Mushuang, claiming to be level 45. This surprises her since reaching such a high level at only 20 years old marks him as a true genius. Our hero accepts the flattery, but she smugly points a finger and boasts that she is already level 37 at only 17 years old. Yahello stares at her with a deadpan expression and gives a dry compliment while privately thinking he has no interest in comparing himself to her. As the pair begins walking up stone stairs toward a dark structure, our guy asks if she was the top scorer in her final exam. Xiaoxiao explains that she didn't take the exam as her father considered it a waste of time. Hearing this, the young mage feels resolute and agrees to team up for the secret realm. She hands over the promised equipment and declares them teammates before they head into the portal. They emerge into a desolate, rocky wasteland under a dark sky where mountains rise near a weathered statue. Sensing a change in the air, Yahello stops while Xiaoxiao notes that the familiar stench of real demons confirms her suspicions about the realm. She explains that she used to face demons with her parents but is now attempting to face them alone. They look around the corner of a rock wall but find the area empty, suggesting that others were sent to randomized locations. Suddenly, a gray-skinned demon with pulsating energy around its face appears on a rocky ledge. The monster smashes a large rock and sends debris flying, forcing our boy to grab Xiaoxiao's arm and pull her back as they leap to safety. The demon lands with a thunderous impact and lets out a guttural roar. Yahello casts an ice blade spell, causing blue ice to erupt from the ground and trap the demon's lower body. Xiaoxiao is amazed by the power of the spell, but the young mage simply reminds her that he is an ice-type specialist. He begins to use his scroll to devour the corpses, which prompts Xiaoxiao to ask why he is collecting them. He immediately puts on a dramatic performance with fake tears, claiming that as an orphan, he needs the money from the corpses to pay for expensive job change fees and equipment. He laments his hard life without family support until Xiaoxiao tells him to stop, feeling guilty for asking. She promises that he can have all the demon corpses they find since they are more valuable than regular monsters. He thanks her for her kindness as they continue through the canyon. Yahello follows Xiaoxiao with an analytical gaze while she asks him to record a video of her fighting to prove her strength to her family. He agrees, but he privately notes that the young lady might be leading him intentionally toward the Demon King's traces despite her seemingly simple-minded nature. They eventually reach a dark valley where a group is gathered around a bonfire. The group members watch the duo from below and dismiss them as weak kill snatchers. Our hero notes the unfriendly atmosphere, but Xiaoxiao ignores them and leads the way across a stone bridge, sensing that the demons are close. The young mage notices the temperature dropping as they race through the canyon. They soon encounter a hulking demon in a tattered cloak that is surprised to see humans. Yilin is impressed to find a demon over level 40, and Xiaoxiao immediately assumes a combat stance. She tells him to start recording the fight, and although he asks if she can handle such a threat, she tells him not to underestimate her. She lunges through the air and releases star puppet threads from her fingers that lash out to entangle the demon's limbs. The monster thrashes and screams in frustration while our protagonist records the encounter with his smartphone, wondering what kind of skill he is witnessing. He realizes the transparent silk thread is a terrifying weapon for surprise attacks that could easily decapitate even a level 50 job changer. Xiaoxiao tightens the bonds and tells the demon it is impossible to break free. In a desperate move, the demon unhinges its jaw and forms a concentrated red energy orb in its throat. Yilin shouts a warning as the monster fires a massive red laser beam. Xiaoxiao quickly manifests a grid-like energy shield to block the attack. The red beam collides with the shield and triggers a blinding explosion that consumes the area. The battle takes a turn for the worse as the smoke clears, the demon standing tall and snarling with rage, vowing to consume the humans alive. Nearby, Xiaoxiao is in rough shape and she looks physically drained. She admits she underestimated the monster's resilience, but she isn't ready to give up just yet. To turn the tide, the young woman prepares her ultimate technique. As a result of her channeling her full power, massive butterfly wings erupt from her back, accompanied by a ghostly, ethereal face in the surging energy. She takes flight, soaring into the air as she prepares her next response. Seeing the demon sprint away with immense speed, she mocks its attempt to flee and gives chase. Our hero realizes this sudden retreat is suspicious and shouts a warning that she might be walking into a trap, all while keeping the smartphone steady to record the fight. His intuition proves correct. The demon leads her to a circular stone platform etched with ancient patterns and suddenly stops. When Xiaoxiao descends to finish him off, the monster reveals a malicious smile. He explains that he wasn't running out of fear, rather, he was luring her into an ambush. Under this forced realization, Xiaoxiao watches as dozens of towering, shadowy demonic figures emerge from the high canyon walls, completely surrounding them. Stunned by the sheer number of enemies, she wonders how so many high-level demons could appear in a small town like Qingcheng. Feeling responsible for getting our protagonist involved, she selflessly decides to act as a distraction. She tells the young mage that she will use her star puppet strings to hold the horde back, urging him to run for his life without worrying about her. Strangely, Yelin doesn't argue. He asks her what she will do, and when she insists she has a way to escape, he simply agrees and heads off first. The demon leader roars for his subordinates to intercept him, but the guy is far too fast. He leaps across the rocky gaps, easily outpacing the demons behind him. However, he doesn't actually leave the area. Instead, he crouches behind a cluster of large boulders to hide, intending to see how exactly Xiaoxiao plans to make her dramatic escape while continuing to record the scene. Back at the platform, Xiaoxiao tries to make her own exit. She swings her arms to entangle the lunging demons in her silk threads, shouting a goodbye as she rushes past them. Unfortunately, the demon leader has no intention of letting his prize go. He manifests a dense black orb of energy and fires a massive projectile. As the energy closes in, it expands into a giant black sun that eclipses the sky. Xiaoxiao is engulfed in a red blast and screams as she is neutralized. Watching from his hiding spot, Yelin notices that she is now trapped inside a heavenly demon prison cage. The demon leader boasts that this device was forged by imperial-blooded masters, specifically to capture high-status humans. Since Xiaoxiao possesses the divine star puppet strings, he deduces she must be a high-ranking member of the Daxia kingdom. He plans to use her as a bargaining chip, figuring the reward for her capture will far exceed the cost of the cage. As the demon reaches into the bars to seize her weapon, blue ice suddenly erupts across his fingers, freezing his arm solid. This unexpected intervention causes the demon to whirl around in a panic. Xiaoxiao is bewildered to see Yelin walking casually out of the shadows. Rather than being scared, he simply tosses her phone back and remarks that he finished the recording she asked for, though he jokingly mentions he only kept the good parts before she got captured. Xiaoxiao is a mix of frustration and disbelief, snapping at him for staying to film a video in such a life-threatening situation. However, the conversation is cut short when a massive, featureless black demonic entity rises up behind our hero. Before he can react, multiple clawed arms reach down from the darkness to seize him. Since he is now fully targeted, our protagonist initiates a counterattack. He triggers an explosion of blue ice crystals in every direction, an ability known as Absolute Zero. Floating in midair, he begins raining hundreds of ice projectiles onto the rocky ground. He moves with supernatural speed, punching through demons and instantly encasing leaping enemies in blocks of ice. Unfortunately, the sheer number of enemies starts to take a toll. As Ye Lin looks back over his shoulder, a shadow demon strikes him from behind, causing blood to drip from his mouth. He quickly recovers by swinging his arm to manifest a long, curved ice blade that carves through the opponent. Seeing the brutality of the exchange, Xiaoxiao trembles inside her cage and begs him to stop fighting and save himself. She is terrified that he is going to die for her sake. Our guy manages a grim joke, asking that if he does fall, she should at least take him out of the secret realm to bury him so he isn't eaten by monsters. The situation turns critical when a long spear suddenly pierces through the young mage's chest from behind. The impact sprays blood from his mouth and sends him stumbling. He slams his hand against a giant ice crystal to block the next attack, but a massive discharge of energy follows, sending him tumbling backward through the air. As he sits slumped on the ground coughing up blood, even the lead demon is left stunned. The monster wonders if the youth is even human, given that he is still conscious after taking such a lethal amount of damage. Strangely, our protagonist finds the strength to stand back up. He lets out a confident smirk, telling the demons that since they've had their fun, it's now his turn. This prompts dozens of additional demons to emerge from the shadows, surrounding the central plateau. They mock him, believing his defiance is just a final gasp before death, and prepare to swarm him all at once. Yahello responds by pressing his palms together in a ritualistic gesture to cast a forbidden spell. Because of this, massive boulders of ice erupt all around the plateau, creating a frozen barrier known as the Eternal Ice Seal. Although the lead demon mocks his aim, thinking the ice missed its target, the young mage reveals the true nature of the trap. He commands the magic to detonate, triggering a violent chain reaction where the giant shards explodes. The explosion obliterates more than 20 demons in an instant, leaving white snow-like particles falling over the battlefield. Xiaoxiao stands frozen in awe, realizing that the power our boy possesses is absolutely terrifying. Despite his victory, he offers a shaky thumbs up while blood leaks from his mouth, insisting it was a guaranteed win. However, the physical backlash from the forbidden spell finally catches up to him. He collapses forward onto his knees in intense pain. Luckily, the prison cage has weakened enough for Xiaoxiao to rush over and catch him, supporting his weight against her shoulder. Their moment of relief is interrupted when the lead demon looms over them, vowing to kill them both. Using his remaining strength, the young mage pushes Xiaoxiao out of the way, just as a massive hand slams into him. The impact sends the hero flying through the air and crashing into the rocks. Seeing his limp body, Xiaoxiao finally snaps. Driven by a scream of pure rage, she stands before the demonic entity as ethereal butterfly wings appear behind her. She flings her hands forward, unleashing hundreds of star threads that wrap tightly around the shadow demon, effectively removing its existence from the area. With the immediate threat gone, she sprints across the debris to the fallen mage. She desperately reaches for a bottle of medicine made by a top-tier alchemy master, promising it will save him. As she kneels beside him and presses the bottle to his lips, our hero weakly tells her to just leave and save herself, but she refuses to let him die, urging him to take the medicine immediately. Several brown medicinal pills scatter across the gray rocks during the struggle, and as the young mage stares blankly with glazed eyes, the girl begins to sob. She vows through her tears that she will become stronger to avenge him and carry him out of this nightmare, eventually pulling his limp body into a tight, grieving embrace. Strangely, the sound of violent coughing breaks the silence, and Xiaoxiao pulls back with wide eyes to see the boy is still conscious. He dryly asks her to release him, noting that she was nearly choking him to death before the demons could finish the job. Overwhelmed with relief, the girl celebrates his survival, while Yahello muses that perhaps the god of death isn't ready for him yet, or the medicine was simply that effective. Determined to secure his safety, she gestures with her star threads and promises to find him the finest cleric in Daxia. Being unable to walk, he is encased by her in a blue bean-shaped protective capsule, and she hoists the heavy object onto her back with surprising ease. The pair travels through the desolate valley until they reach the base of a crumbling Buddha statue where a gruesome sight awaits them. Looking from behind a rock, Xiaoxiao observes piles of human remains and realizes that Secret Realm number 79 is actually a deliberate hunting ground designed by the demon kind to slaughter humans. Our protagonist peeks from his capsule and suggests she leave him to find help, but she firmly rejects the idea of leaving a teammate behind. This moment of loyalty is interrupted when a muscular demon spots them and alerts its companions to the escaping humans. Multiple demons surround the pair, mocking them for trying to flee with a crippled companion. Xiaoxiao assumes a combat stance, ready to tear them to pieces, but Yahello insists on being let out so he can defend himself. Once he lands on his feet, he surveys the carnage of the fallen job changers with a cold, predatory gaze. Seeing a massive opportunity for growth, Yahello activates his dark ability, Endless Devour. A surge of energy envelops him as he consumes the corpses of the level 22 and level 25 job changers. This process provides a massive influx of nutrients and minerals, increasing his lifespan by 250 years and granting several attribute boosts that cause him to level up multiple times in rapid succession. As the demons close in to torture the girl, Yahello unleashes his true power. A wave of ice sweeps across the canyon floor, freezing every monster in its path with terrifying intensity. This display of strength causes the demons to panic, wondering how such a powerful figure could exist in a small county town like Qingcheng. Fearing total annihilation, the monsters fire a red flare into the dark sky to call for Lord Norris and reinforcements. Since the entrance is now blocked and a direct escape is impossible, the duo decides to find a temporary hiding place. While they retreat, the young mage privately reflects on how the abundance of demons makes this a perfect place to continue leveling up. Later that night, the two sit by a large bonfire in the forest roasting skewers of meat. Si Xiaoxiao marvels at the boy's incredible recovery speed, and he jokingly attributes his healing to her medicine and the delicious four-eyed demon pig she prepared. Encouraged by his praise, she expresses a sudden dream of becoming a professional chef once they escape. Their conversation is cut short when Yahello senses a disturbance nearby, prompting them to investigate the darkness of the woods. Nearby, a group of battered survivors huddled around a small fire, lamenting that the secret realm was a lie meant to trap them. The survivors worry about a demonic conspiracy and argue about the impossibility of reaching the exit. Standing among them is a man with black hair and a prominent facial scar. This man is revealed to be Wu Hao, a level 48 extreme flame swordsman. Since he is the strongest person present, the others look to him for a plan of escape. Wu Hao smirks maliciously and suggests a cruel strategy, stating that since the seriously injured are a burden, they should act as bait to lure the demons away, so the healthy survivors can break through the entrance. This suggestion fills the group with horror. One survivor immediately objects, asking if this plan is essentially a death sentence. A woman joins the protest, refusing to abandon her badly hurt husband. In response to these objections, Wu Hao looks down coldly and delivers slashes through the air. Two of the protesters are struck down instantly, collapsing with the bleeding wounds. The survivors cry out in agony at this unprovoked cruelty, but Wu Hao simply licks the blood off his blade with a manic expression. Now that he has created two new pieces of bait, he asks if anyone else still opposes the plan. When silence follows, he orders the group to seal the mouths of the victims to prevent them from tipping off the enemy. Suddenly, Ye Mushuang and Xie Xiaoxiao emerge from the shadows to intervene. Xiaoxiao glares at Wu Hao and objects to his perverse reasoning, arguing that he is going too far by attacking his own kind instead of the demons. Our boy finds her choice of idioms confusing, so the young mage decides to teach her how to properly curse at a villain. He unleashes a massive censored outburst of profanity that leaves the survivors stunned by the sheer momentum of his insults. This verbal attack sends Wu Hao into a fury. The man lunges through the air, vowing to cut out the protagonist's tongue. However, Yahello does not have to move because Xiaoxiao intervenes. She uses her star puppet threads to snag Wu Hao in midair, leaving him flailing helplessly. As he struggles against the binds, she tightens the threads until he falls to the ground bleeding. Yahello stands over the fallen Wu Hao and notes that as he is now heavily injured, he will be the first one used as bait. Xiaoxiao admits she would kill him herself if not for the demons waiting outside. Seeing the change in leadership, the other survivors bow in gratitude and beg the duo to lead them to safety. Xiaoxiao reassures them that as long as they work together, they can leave the secret realm. Ye Mushuang is curious about her strategy, prompting Xiaoxiao to reveal that she has studied the art of war. She kneels to draw a tactical map in the dirt, identifying their position and the 15 demons guarding the exit. To ensure everyone's safety, she splits the survivors into two groups. Team B will consist of the mages and the wounded, while Team A will be responsible for attracting the demons' attention using high-speed classes. Our boy raises his hand to join Team A, noting that despite being an ice mage, he is quite fast. Several other survivors, including the injured woman and her bandaged husband, volunteer to join as well, preferring to die together rather than be separated. Xiaoxiao is moved by their determination and finalizes the 6-member team. While the group prepares, Ye Mushuang reflects on how the girl still doesn't understand the sinister nature of the human heart. Nearby, Wu Hao watches with a malicious eye, secretly planning to abandon everyone the moment things turn dangerous. The group eventually reaches a rocky ledge overlooking a valley swarming with demonic shadows. Given that the number of enemies has increased, Xiaoxiao prepares to lead a desperate charge to buy time for Team B. However, Yahello calmly walks ahead of her and suggests that they do not actually need 6 people to lure the horde away. Before anyone can stop him, he sprints down the rocky incline toward the demonic swarm alone. He tells the others that he is enough on his own and urges them to find their chance to escape. Xiaoxiao screams for him to come back, fearing he is throwing his life away for nothing. Ye Mushuang looks back one last time with a confident expression, promising that he will live. The young mage leaps directly into the center of the demon swarm and lands with a surge of blue energy. He activates his ice blade art, causing massive ice spikes to erupt and impale several enemies. The demons recognize him as the ice expert who previously caused them trouble and warn each other about his terrifying strength. As the monsters surround him to prevent his escape, Ye Mushuang hovers against the sky while gathering a powerful spell. He retorts that the demons are the ones who should be worried about escaping as the battle begins in earnest. The demon group remains on high alert after the initial spell attack, wary of the young mage's forbidden powers. While the human survivors prepare to strike, Xie Xiaoxiao halts them, sensing a shift in the atmosphere. Her intuition proves correct as our boy stands alone, coldly mocking the approaching horde as nothing more than ants. This insult enrages a red-skinned demon tribe leader who looms over Yahello with a spiked club. The leader retorts that the young mage is the only ant present and swings his heavy weapon. Our hero remains perfectly calm and leaps into the air to dodge the strike just in time. The heavy club hits the ground with enough force to shatter the earth, missing its mark entirely. Realizing the boy is a distraction, the demon leader orders his main force to continue blocking the exit, while a smaller group follows him to deal with the guy. Yilin sprints away, leading the pack of demons deep into the canyon to clear a path for his friends. Shi Xiaoxiao and a survivor with a headband watch him go, realizing he successfully distracted the bulk of the demon forces. However, they notice a few monsters are still guarding the exit tunnel. Xiaoxiao decides they have no choice but to fight and urges the survivors to charge. She hopes the other team will arrive to provide support as they rush toward the two blue-skinned demons holding the gate. The demons roar at the approaching humans and resolve to hold the line to prevent any escape. Xiaoxiao leaps forward, her star threads manifesting as large butterfly wings as she initiates the assault. While the battle at the exit begins, Wu Hao is seen hiding behind a rock with a separate group of healthy fighters. He smiles maliciously as the diversions worked perfectly. Instead of helping his allies, he orders his team to abandon the wounded and prepare to flee alone. One teammate is shocked by this betrayal, but Wu Hao silences him with a fierce glare and a warning that staying behind means certain death. The healthy survivors decide that their own lives are more important than the group, and they follow Wu Hao toward the exit. Xiaoxiao initially thinks Team B is arriving to help her, but her rage boils over when she realizes they are actually abandoning the severely injured to save themselves. Wu Hao reaches the tunnel exit and laughs at the fools he left behind, believing his ruthlessness will ensure a long life. However, his celebration is cut short when a giant stone slab crashes down and seals the tunnel. The group is trapped, and they realize they have triggered a backup trap set by the demons. Wu Hao tries to stay composed and orders everyone to break the wall down together. Since the stone is reinforced with magic, their combined attacks of fire and steel fail to leave a single scratch. Xiaoxiao and the wounded survivors watch this struggle from behind, feeling that the cowards have finally met with retribution. The situation becomes even more desperate when a group of demons appears in the sky. The demon tribe leader returns, leading a pack of wolf-like monsters to surround Wu Hao's group. Realizing they are trapped between a stone door and a vengeful horde, Wu Hao prepares for a hopeless fight. The demon leader swings his axe and sends a massive red energy slash toward the humans, throwing them back with violent force. Xiaoxiao realizes the leader is far too terrifying for them to handle and suggests a retreat. As they climb a rocky ledge between two cliffs, the survivors are shocked to find Ye Mushuang sitting casually on a rock. Xiaoxiao asks if he is injured, and our boy stands up to greet them. He is surprised to see they haven't escaped yet and asks if the demons had more traps. Xiaoxiao explains that the entrance was sealed and Team B was nearly wiped out due to abandoning the wounded. Our hero admits his mistake in assuming they could escape on their own and decides it is time to head back. He originally planned to let the survivors leave before going on a massive killing spree, but the blocked exit forces him to fight the horde head-on. He stands before the demons and shouts for them to prepare for death. The demon tribe leader steps forward to accept the challenge, leaping high to slam his axe into the ice created by the young mage. A massive explosion of shards follows, but Yelin remains unscathed. The demon leader is horrified to see the young mage is fully recovered, wondering how his previous wounds healed so quickly. Ye Mushuang tells the monster that there are many things he cannot imagine. He immediately triggers his Devour spell, causing a scene of absolute chaos as demonic silhouettes are shredded and vaporized across the battlefield. The demon tribe leader watches the carnage with wide, terror-stricken eyes, unable to comprehend the nature of such a devastating move. Surveying the wreckage of his fallen warriors, the demon tribe leader is horrified to realize that the young mage is even devouring the demon kind. Yelin simply smiles, coldly promising the leader that his turn is coming soon. He notes that being in the secret realm provides a rare opportunity to eliminate so many demons at once, which is why he is willing to push his body to the limit. To finish the job, he envelops himself in a rising aura, initiating the forbidden burning karma spell. He begins the ritual of sacrifice, causing a vortex of dark wind to form around him as he prepares the world-destroying winds. Desperate to survive, the demon tribe leader calls for his remaining subordinates to launch a combined assault. A massive surge of energy erupts from the ground in response, dwarfing the demons and forcing them into a defensive posture. Although the leader is hit by the crushing pressure of the spell, he grits his teeth and reminds his followers that a forbidden spellcaster cannot maintain such intensity for long. Our boy casually agrees with this assessment, but he decides to use his remaining time to give them a final, terrifying experience. He spreads his arms and activates two elements simultaneously, unleashing a combined feast of ice and fire. This results in a colossal tornado of spiraling flames and frost that tears through the center of the canyon. Due to the sheer scale of the explosions and flying debris, the demonic forces are utterly decimated, leaving only the tribe leader standing alone on a rock. The demon looks around at the empty wasteland in total shock, realizing the terrifying gap in their power. Seeing the few remaining survivors attempt to flee, Ye Mushuang declares that none of them will escape his reach. He makes a final hand seal, his presence darkening as he unleashes the full weight of his devouring power. A pulse of energy expands across the landscape, striking the fleeing demons and causing the leader to scream in agony as he demands to know the young mage's true identity. As the monsters fall, a stream of system notifications confirms the massive gains. Since he devoured 22 high-level monsters, our protagonist's lifespan increases by 780 years, and he gains over 16,000 experience points. This massive influx of power triggers multiple level-ups, significantly boosting his strength, agility, and spirit attributes. Refusing to surrender, the demon tribe leader leaps into the air with his axe, vowing that the great demon lord will eventually enslave all of humanity. Yahello watches the incoming strike with a neutral expression, and as a result of his superior speed, the demon's attack misses the target entirely. At that moment, Xiaoxiao arrives on the scene and stares at the young mage in disbelief, shocked that he managed to wipe out the entire demonic force single-handedly. Realizing the survivors have arrived at a critical moment, Ye Mushuang worries that his true strength will be exposed. To maintain his cover, he intentionally throws himself backward as if hit by an invisible impact, slamming into a cliff in a huge explosion of dust. Believing he is in trouble, Xiaoxiao charges forward to protect him, urging the other survivors to exit while she handles the remaining threat. Our boy leans against a rock, coughing and pretending to be battered, claiming he did his best against such a strong opponent. He shamelessly lies, suggesting the leader strengthened himself by absorbing other demons. Moved by his apparent sacrifice, Xiaoxiao tells him he has done enough and takes over the fight. The demon tribe leader is furious at the deception, shouting that the young mage is a liar who devoured everyone, but Xiaoxiao ignores the nonsense. She takes flight with her butterfly wings, striking the leader with her threads. In a final act of desperation, the wounded demon looms over the fallen Ye Mushuang, vowing to drag him to hell. He lunges down with his weapon, but our boy catches the strike with his bare hand and looks up with a cold gaze. The demon is visibly shocked by this sudden display of strength. Consequently, a massive vortex of spell energy erupts from the center of the clash and spirals outward to consume the area. A gargantuan strike hits the demon and triggers a massive explosion. The demon tribe leader lies scorched and broken on the ground with blood leaking from his mouth. He gasps out his final words in disbelief, unable to accept such a humiliating defeat. Yilin stands up amidst the dust and wreckage and looks at the fallen demon with a dismissive gaze. He reflects that the demon had to be defeated in this way to keep his true identity a secret. Xiaoxiao approaches our protagonist with visible concern and asks if his injuries are serious. Ye Mushuang insists he won't die just yet and urges her to leave the desolate valley quickly. As they stand together, the young woman looks at him seriously as if about to deliver important news, while the young mage mentions he has something to say as well. They begin walking through the canyon and past the bleeding corpse of the demon. Xiaoxiao leads the way and explains that her father is likely waiting right outside the exit. She warns him that he must pretend they are strangers who met by chance, otherwise he will die. Our protagonist looks at her and questions if her father is some kind of monster. Xiaoxiao tells him to stop asking, noting that knowing too much won't do him any good. This only makes him more curious. Suddenly he stops and looks at her with a firm gaze. He declares that regardless of who her father is, he will find him again since surviving life and death together has made them best friends. As he swears to the heavens to keep his word, Xiaoxiao places her hand near his mouth to stop his oath. She then reveals her true family background, explaining that her father is Jie Hong, the head of one of the 5 great families of Great Xia. The young mage is stunned by the magnitude of her identity, wondering about the significance of these great families. The girl mentions the famous astrologer Mr. Zhuge and explains that he hailed from one of these ancient clans. She adds that as he recently died, the families have been investigating the cause. Our protagonist contemplates this connection and wonders if the Z family was behind the chaos at his teacher's funeral. Xiaoxiao challenges his resolve, asking if he still dares to find her now that he knows her status. He answers with a confident look, stating that once he sets his mind on something, he always sees it through. The young woman gives a soft smile before turning away, promising to wait for him. She begins walking away and reminds him of her name as Yahello watches her departing back to finalize their promise. The scene shifts to the exterior of the secret realm. The portal is guarded by men in suits. Shihong stands watching the entrance alongside City Lord Hu Weng. A guard shouts that the young miss has emerged. Xiaoxiao steps out of the portal looking exhausted, and the guards bow in relief. She runs toward her father, but Si-hong looks at her with an unimpressed expression. He scolds her for being bold enough to run away from home. The young woman holds up her achievement to show she can hold her own against the demon race. Si-hong remains dismissive, stating that since the family spent immense resources on her, this level of performance is the bare minimum. He warns her that if she couldn't achieve this much, she would be nothing but trash. Shi Shaoxiao looks visibly hurt and cowed by his harsh words. Her father turns his back and issues a punishment, ordering her to enter the Dragon Pool's secret realm to reflect on her actions. The young woman bows in submission and accepts the order. Behind them, the entrance to the secret realm begins to distort and collapse. Shi-hong notices a figure standing in the shadows and asks about his identity. Shi Shaoxiao gestures toward the young mage and describes him as an ice element mage she met inside who killed several demons. When her father asks if they are close, she responds quickly that they are not close at all. Shi-hong starts to walk away, and the group departs. Our hero watches them leave while sweat drips from his face from the oppressive weight of Ji-hong's power. He wonders if this man is the mastermind behind the scenes. Now alone, the young mage realizes he has been out too long and needs to return home fast. He begins to walk away but stops abruptly when an arrow hits him in the shoulder. A masked archer with a long tongue sticks out from the forest and aims a bow at him. The archer mocks his survival and aims another arrow at his head, noting that the young mage shouldn't have gotten so close to the young miss. Our protagonist contemplates his options while wearing the illusion mask. He worries that blowing his cover would be dangerous, but playing dead might result in a real death if the next arrow hits his head. He decides to act and manifests a sharp ice blade. The masked archer fires, shattering the ice and striking the young mage directly in the chest. The force throws him backward and he lies on the ground with blood staining the earth. He hopes that by playing dead, he can slip away. Unfortunately, the archer walks up to the body and draws another arrow to finish the job. Seeing that he won't be allowed to play dead, our hero suddenly rolls and strikes the archer with explosive speed. He unleashes his spell, activating the world-destroying Raging Thunder. The archer is paralyzed by the sudden switch from ice to lightning. A colossal bolt of lightning strikes and obliterates the assassin. Standing in the smoldering crater, Yelin reflects that the attacker forced his hand. As he devours the fallen enemy, he gains nutrients, 35 years of life, and various attribute boosts. 5 minutes after the battle ends, an investigator wearing a suit and a cat mask arrives at the site to survey the damage. As the man kneels to touch the scorched earth, he senses the residual energy left behind by the combatants. Detecting fluctuations in the ice element alongside traces of lightning and space magic, he concludes that at least 3 different people were involved in the struggle. The investigator immediately reports these findings to his lord through an earpiece, confirming that the assassin known as the Hanged Ghost is dead. This discovery prompts the investigator to initiate a thorough search of Qingcheng and the surrounding areas to track down those responsible. The scene shifts to a luxury mansion on a bright day, where Ye Lin stands before the large iron gates in his original form. He calls out for a senior blacksmith named Yin Xiang, but his request for a meeting goes completely ignored. As there is no response, the young mage decides he will not stand on ceremony and violently rips the entire gate assembly off the wall. This destruction forces Yinsong to run out from the house in a state of pure rage. Yelin casually tosses the heavy metal gate onto the blacksmith, leaving the man bleeding and pinned to the ground. As Yinsong struggles under the weight, he calls for his guards to take the intruder down. A group of guards in dark suits rushes forward to engage the intruder, but Yelin responds by casting an ice spell. Due to this magic, the entire squad is instantly encased in a block of ice from the waist down, leaving them frozen and trembling in fear. The guards realize they are likely facing a forbidden spell as they find themselves completely unable to move. Realizing he is outmatched, Yinshang asks how he has offended such a powerful guest. Our hero stands over the shocked blacksmith and demands that he call his other 2 associates, Yun Yingfa and Zhou Heping. The blacksmith finally recognizes the young mage as the mysterious individual who has been buying up monster corpses at outrageous prices. Shortly after, the 3 masters gather in a serene courtyard by a koi pond. When Zhou Heping and Yun Yingfa arrive, they are confused by the missing gate and the urgent summons. Yelin reveals himself while leaning against a porch pillar, informing the trio that he is the man they tried to have assassinated. This revelation causes the 2 newcomers to turn on Yinshang with furious accusations, blaming him for setting them up. Yinshang retorts that they were just as guilty in the plot and shouldn't act self-righteous now that the target has appeared at their door. Our hero interrupts the bickering by stating that he is not there for revenge, but for serious business. He presents a tattered weapon known as the rainbow-piercing bow, which is an epic-grade item. The 3 masters stare at the equipment in terror, since they lack the high-level skills required to reforge such a legendary piece. Yinshang explains that he is only a senior blacksmith, and his partners are an alchemist and an apothecary, making a master-level task seem impossible. The young mage remains unmoved and suggests that 3 clumsy professionals are better than 1 genius. To ensure their cooperation, he unleashes a violent pressure wave that cracks the ground and terrifies the masters. Faced with this predatory display of power, the 3 men quickly change their tune and promise that the reforging is definitely possible. Yahello is pleased with their decisiveness and promises to let them go if they succeed, but he warns of severe consequences if they fail. He leaves them to work while he goes for a stroll around the property. The masters work frantically at a large forge, using fire and magic to reshape the weapon until the flames settle into a new form. Yinxiang eventually presents the finished crimson-bladed bow to the young mage, who commends their extraordinary work. The weapon has been transformed into the 8 Desolations Holy Silver Bow. With this new epic grade item doubling the power of arrows within 10 meters and ignoring defense equipment below God grade, our boy notes that it can even be used effectively for melee combat. He maintains his word and allows the 3 masters to go free, though he warns them to never let him see their faces again. Yahello returns to the Ji family mansion where Ling Yu and Chairman Ji are surprised to see him. Since the hero has been using a clone to pretend he is practicing in his room, Ling Yu is confused as to why his boss is suddenly walking in from outside. Our hero quickly covers his mistake by claiming he just went out for fresh air. He then suggests to Uncle Ji that since Ching Cheng is becoming dangerous and many people want him dead, he needs to hire a bodyguard. Ling Yu agrees to arrange this immediately. Yahello feels confident in this plan, as he intends to use a new identity to become his own bodyguard. This strategy will allow his clone and his new persona to appear simultaneously, making his movements much safer and harder to track. Later, standing before the Jishu Group skyscraper, Ling Yu addresses a line of screened candidates gathered in the courtyard. As the organization is currently facing unknown threats, the blonde executive explains that the group is in dire need of a top-tier bodyguard. He emphasizes that the person they are to protect is a figure who has caused a significant stir in Qingcheng, forcing the group to be extremely selective with their choice. Among the crowd stands our protagonist, disguised as Ye Mushuang. While his face illusion remains perfectly intact, he finds it amusing that he is considered someone stirring up a storm, considering the target he is being hired to protect is technically himself. To settle the matter of the position, Ling Yu announces that the candidates must face each other in open combat, with only the winner earning the role. As the other job changers prepare for a traditional tournament, Ye Mushuang decides to expedite the process. Since he is in a hurry, he casually suggests that all the candidates should simply attack him at once. This bold request shocks the group, causing a large tattooed man to snap at him for his perceived arrogance. Even Ling Yu is struck by the boy's confidence, noting that this stranger possesses a cockiness that rivals his own boss. Our hero ignores the taunts and prepares to test his newly reforged 8 Desolations Holy Silver Bow. Realizing he is an archer, the other candidates attempt to strategize, urging their knights and tanks to move forward and block the anticipated projectiles. However, the speed of the young mage is far beyond their expectations. He draws his bow with lightning speed, releasing an arrow trailing intense energy that streaks across the rooftop. A candidate with a massive tower shield leaps forward to intercept the shot, but the impact is devastating. The arrow triggers a massive explosion that shatters the top-tier shield and creates a violent shockwave. With the bald candidate left stunned by this terrifying power, the group decides to set aside their differences and swarm the arrogant brat together. Seeing the horde charge through the air, Ye Mushuang chooses to test the bow's effectiveness in close quarters. He fires another arrow that pierces straight through the center of a heavy shield, pinning the wielder to the floor. The bald candidate is left in total disbelief, as no standard weapon should be able to bypass a defense of that caliber. As the remaining fighters rush him from all sides, the young mage shifts his tactics. Instead of firing more arrows, he grips the bow like a melee weapon and swings it in a massive arc. This creates a circular shockwave that sends the candidates flying, leaving them wounded and gasping for air. Realizing they are completely outmatched, the survivors surrender, deciding that no paycheck is worth the risk of their lives. Ling Yu approaches the unscathed protagonist with a satisfied look, officially offering him the position. Ye Mushuang introduces his false persona as a level 45 S-rank refined hunter, prompting Ling Yu to offer an annual salary of 60 million yuan plus equipment. As they head toward the building entrance to finalize the onboarding, Ling Yu secretly gloats, knowing he has successfully hired the very man he serves. Meanwhile, a dark transition reveals a far more sinister plot unfolding in a forest outside Qingcheng. Shiheng stands in a clearing with masked subordinates, having confirmed that his daughter has returned home safely. However, his focus is now on a much larger objective. His subordinates express concern about the sheer volume of monsters they have drawn toward Qingcheng, fearing the city won't withstand the onslaught. Hung remains unmoved by the potential for innocent casualties. He explains that triggering a monster incursion is the best way to force the mysterious Ling Ye out of hiding. Believing an origin ancient artifact has appeared, he views the destruction of a single city as a small price to pay. His malicious expression confirms his resolve. As long as the artifact falls into the hands of the Z family, no amount of sacrifice is considered too great. Somewhere else deep inside a silent forest, Officer Huang and his assistant stand near charred ruins to investigate the disappearance of the blacksmith Yinxiang. As the area is completely wiped clean, the subordinates find it impossible to extract any useful clues about the family. While examining the ground, Huang picks up a piece of dark rock and deduces that the blacksmith must have been forging a bow right before he vanished. This discovery forces him to order an immediate citywide search for any class-transferred users who carry a longbow. The investigation quickly yields a result. A subordinate informs the officer that a suspect has surfaced who recently applied for a job as a bodyguard for the G group. This news irritates Huang since the person the suspect is protecting is Yahello once again. It seems to him that every major incident in the city is somehow connected to our boy. The scene shifts to the G family mansion, where Ye Mushuang stands calmly guarding the resting Yahello. Huang approaches and presents a suspect document, identifying the hunter as a person of interest in the murder of Yinxiang. When the officer tells him to come to the bureau, Yahello asks for actual evidence. Huang gestures toward the red-bladed bow on the back of Ye Mushuang, claiming that the 8 Desolations holy silver bow is the only proof he needs. Before the arrest can proceed, the water in a nearby pond begins to surge violently. A figure rises high into the air, startling everyone present. The entity warns the group that a massive swarm of demonic beasts is about to attack the city. As the strength of the local forces is insufficient, the entity advises them to use this time to evacuate the civilians immediately. Officer Huang is terrified by the news and realizes that the warning is legitimate. He wonders how such a massive gathering of demons is possible without a king-rank bloodline leading them. The entity mentions it is only speaking due to its master's orders before it dissipates and leaves the group behind. Recognizing the urgency of the situation, Huang and his man abandon the investigation and sprint away to prepare for the invasion. Yamushuang watches them go and reflects on the ruined version of the city he saw inside the Gate of Apocalypse. He realizes that Zehong is likely the heartless mastermind who lured tens of thousands of beasts toward the city, just to force our protagonist out of hiding. As a result, the streets of the city are filled with screaming crowds as emergency announcements ring out. All young job changers are ordered to the teleportation arrays, while anyone level 10 or higher must report to the city walls for battle. While helping a mother and her child navigate the panic, Yamushuang reflects on his teacher. He wonders if these events were already within the astrologer's predictions. To find guidance, he opens the small silk pouch his teacher gave him while dying and finds a note that tells him to follow his heart and do as he will. This simple advice clarifies his path, and he decides to give the people the hero they are searching for. He puts on a dark mask to step back into the role of Ling Ye. A massive war drum begins to strike as the military assembles at the city walls. The officers issue strict orders, emphasizing that everyone must obey, and that those over 40 or with siblings will be the first to enter the fray. Since the situation is a matter of life and death, the commanders warn that any deserters will be executed on the spot. Standing atop the battlements, our protagonist looks out at the sea of crawling and flying demons. This terrifying sight helps him finally understand why the people of this world are forced to live behind massive stone walls. Nearby, City Lord Hu Weng realizes that the powerful figures from other cities have ignored their calls for help. As the elites view human lives as mere numbers, the city is left to defend itself. The city lord turns to his soldiers and acknowledges that the walls alone cannot stop a swarm of this magnitude. He explains that they must use their own flesh and blood to form a line of defense so their families can escape safely. By promising to lead the charge from the front lines, he inspires the massive army to roar with a shared vow to fight to the death without retreat. Below them, the dark ruins of the outer city are shrouded in a heavy, oppressive atmosphere. Suddenly, a gargantuan explosion of fire erupts and shatters the earth. As the smoke clears, the Ling Ye clone stands tall while gripping a trident. From the city wall, a soldier and city lord Hu Weng watch the distant battle in total shock. The city lord is stunned to see Ling Ye appear, while the soldier wonders about the source of such terrifying power. Nearby, 2 wounded soldiers stand with faces smeared in grime and blood. They wonder if the late Mr. Zhug is still looking out for Qingcheng even after his death, feeling a sudden surge of hope for their survival. The masked clone launches an attack on the demons, causing massive flames to erupt and incinerate the beasts until their charred remains crumble. He calls out to the warriors of Qingcheng to join him in driving out the swarm and defending the city. Meanwhile, on a high cliff, Sihong stands while a subordinate confirms that the target has appeared, noting that the investigation files identify Ling Ye as a fire-type specialist who killed Kensen. Shihong orders his team to move out. A dozen figures in black suits and animal masks leap from the cliffside and descend toward the battlefield. Back on the walls, the soldiers are bewildered by the arrival of the masked group. These newcomers use brute force to smash through the demonic swarm, but they ignore the monsters entirely to reach a specific target. The soldiers wonder if these experts are another trump card from Mr. Zhuge, but the city lord realizes they aren't attacking the demons at all. He watches in confusion as they use their raw power to force a path through the swarm, wondering what they are trying to do. In a secluded spot, the real Yelin watches the scene while maintaining his Yemushuang appearance. He realizes the masked group is finally showing themselves to hunt his clone, and decides he will have some fun with them. The Lingye clone is quickly surrounded on a rocky plain by the masked subordinates. The cat-masked attacker mocks him for no longer hiding, but the clone simply asks if they truly think they can catch him. The clone lets out a haunting, manic laugh and shouts that his plan has failed. He calls out to Mr. Zhuge, claiming he has failed his trust. This behavior causes the cat-masked subordinate to panic, realizing the boy is about to self-destruct. A cataclysmic explosion of fire consumes the entire area and leaves a smoking crater in the earth. When the smoke clears, the cat and rabbit-masked attackers stand in the center of the crater completely unharmed. They are surprised by the kid's lack of fear, but wonder what their next move should be now that the target is gone. The real Yelin looks in concern from his distant hiding spot. He is disturbed that a level 45 Forbidden Mage's self-destruction failed to injure even one of the attackers. He recognizes how terrifying their strength must be, though he feels the explosion successfully covered his tracks. Suddenly, a sharp, familiar scream pierces the air. Yelin snaps his head toward the city walls and recognizes Zhugani's voice. The young woman stands on the edge of the wall and looks down at the masked attackers and vows to bury them with Ling Ye. Without hesitation, Zhugani leaps from the towering wall into the demonic swarm below. Yelin is confused as to why she isn't escaping through the teleportation array with the main group. As she falls, she holds a blue astrolabe and channels intense spiritual energy. She is instantly surrounded by a galaxy of cosmic energy as stars and nebulae appear in the sky. She declares her intent to inherit her father's wishes and live or die with the city. She commands the power of the heavenly stars, creating the astral array. City Lord Hu Weng stares in absolute awe as thousands of beams of light rain down like falling stars. This technique, known as eternal star suppression, slams into the demonic horde with immense gravitational pressure. The cat and rabbit-masked subordinates are pinned to the ground with their bodies cracking under the weight. They are terrified by the lingering power of Zhuge Qianxing and struggle to move. Seeing this opening, City Lord Hu Weng raises his sword and orders his warriors to charge. The human army surges forward and takes advantage of the suppression to slaughter the trapped demons in a flurry of blades and blood. Zhugni trembles from the strain of the spell as blood leaks from the corner of her mouth. Yelin watches her, realizing that using this level of power is far more than her body can handle. Nearby soldiers reach out toward her in despair, lamenting that good people never live long and worrying for the master's only daughter. Amidst the star shower, the masked subordinates begin to glow with a dark yellow aura. They force themselves upright against the gravity, realizing they must break free or die. With a synchronized burst of energy, the masked group shatters the astral chains binding them. The subordinates immediately turn their attention toward the weakened Zhugani. One of them lunges forward and launches an arrow of dark blue energy to strike her down, labeling her a meddlesome nuisance. Zhugni closes her eyes and accepts her end, thinking of her father as the starlight begins to fade.